Collins running out of real estate. Heads back upfield. 25 to the 30. The 35 to 40. The 45 to 50. He has only Kowalski to beat. Gets through him. The 10 and touchdown for Collins.
Garte looks to throw. He fires toward the goal line. And that is caught by Kadeem Wilson for a game-winning Gators touchdown.
Back on in, here's Yoxon. Yoxon to the backhand, trying to go to the front, makes the move and shot, and he scores!
Rowan heading for the touchpad with the lead, and the Props will take the men's 400-yard freestyle relay.
He sends one on goal and he scores! Jonah Popre scores for the second time tonight.
And it is a power play goal! The pressure is there. Wilson putting it in the end zone. It is up for grabs. Did someone come down with it? No, incomplete. The Pharaohs are the 2022 EFA champions. Live from Memorial Stadium in New Brunswick, New Jersey, PDF Sports Network is proud to welcome you into coverage of Tri-State Warriors football. Today, the Tri-State Warriors continue their season, taking on the Baltimore Nighthawks after both teams' respective bye weeks. And with approximately 1/2 hour until kickoff, we officially welcome you in to the Club Metro pregame show. I'm David Pizzuto alongside Joe Foreman. And Joe, for the next 30 minutes or so, we get a chance to catch up on the Women's Football Alliance and the Tri-State Warriors, Joe, a team that finds itself in the win column after a season-opening loss that we covered here on PDF Sports Network.
In the first half of their loss to New York 3 weeks ago, the Warriors really struggled offensively, but their defense did force several turnovers. That was a big reason why they were able to take the lead in the second half. After that game, went into halftime in a scoreless tie. Unfortunately, they couldn't hold on to that lead, but the Warriors were able to bounce back against the Havoc in their last game. The Tri-State defense has already forced 6 turnovers in 2 games and shut out the Havoc last week, giving this Warriors team plenty of reason for optimism heading into today's game.
Yeah, Joe, so much better when you can go into a bye week with a W. And that win over the Havoc 2 weeks ago was just what the doctor ordered, especially considering the way in which they lost that game 3 weeks ago in their opener to the Wolves. 3 quarters of shutout football in that game, but a strong fourth quarter for New York saw them pull away 14-6. The defense seemingly picked up where they left off, and 3 touchdowns from the Warriors offense last week. You have to think that excites this coaching staff.
No question that the Tri-State coaching staff feels good about the offensive effort last week. Not only did they put 3 touchdowns on the board against the Havoc, but the offensive attack has been very balanced through the team's first 2 games. Over 100 yards per game on the ground and over 100 yards per game through the air through their first 2 contests. They've also had 2 weeks to prepare ahead of this Week 3 matchup with the Nighthawks, the first of 2 meetings between these 2 teams this season.
Yeah, Joe, and you can see on your screen coming up shortly the schedule for the Tri-State Warriors. As we've mentioned, 6 games in the season in the WFA. So, you know, we're officially in mid-season right now, Joe. So after the respective bye week. So essentially the time to make a move and get on the top side of the standings is now.
No question about it, Dave. This is undoubtedly a huge game for both teams as each comes in with a 1-1 record on the season. Tri-State is coming in off a win in their last game, while Baltimore is coming in off a loss. However, as we've mentioned in the past, the standings are determined based on Massey rating and not overall record. But a 1-2 start will make it a very difficult road to the playoffs for one of these 2 teams the rest of the way.
Right. You see the Warriors schedule. Of course, we'll have one more of their games later on this season here at Memorial Stadium. And now, Joe, we see the Nighthawks schedule. And you can see the common opponent these 2 teams share. That's the New York Wolves. Nighthawks won their opener pretty resoundingly, but a 28-14 loss 2 weeks ago to the Wolves, Joe, before they go into their bye week. They go in on a loss. How do we anticipate their response here today on the road?
If last year is any indication, you know the Nighthawks expect to respond in a big way today, as they had a lot of success against Tri-State last season on both sides of the ball. However, this Tri-State defense has been very strong through the first 2 games, and the offense really hit their stride in the second half of Week 1 against the Wolves. I think if you're Baltimore, you have to look to avoid turnovers and try to make the Warriors as one-dimensional as possible on the offensive side of the ball. Fortunately for them, they have a great blueprint to build upon from last year's matchups with the Warriors.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned those matchups. They're on your screen now. These two teams, no strangers to one another. They met twice in their 6-game regular season last year. As you can see on your screen, 2 big wins by the Nighthawks. But, Joe, we saw it in the game against the Wolves 3 weeks ago. The Warriors certainly shortened the distance between those two teams. The question is, have they done enough to close the gap with the Nighthawks?
The 2 games between these 2 teams last season were very different from one another. In the first meeting, it was a defensive battle that saw the Nighthawks win in a low-scoring shutout. In the second game, Baltimore took the victory in a blowout. That being said, the scores of their 2 games against the Nighthawks looked very similar to the score of their 2 games against the Wolves last season. And as we saw in Week 1, the Warriors did enough to put themselves in a position to beat the Wolves in their opener. If Tri-State continues to play the defense we've seen for much of the first 2 weeks of the season and is able to avoid negative plays on the offensive side of the ball, there's no reason they shouldn't be able to put themselves in a similar position to win today.
Absolutely right, Joe. And you could see kind of the tail of the tape on your screen, the team comparison. Now, one thing to note is that those statistics for the Nighthawks only include their first game of the season as far as their yardage is concerned, because their second game was not reported yet. But you could see this is a team that likes to run the football, Joe. They only had the 20 passing yards in their Week 1 win, so we should see a lot of good smash-mouth football today.
No question about it. As I said, Tri-State, very balanced offensively. Really began to hit their stride in the first half, or I should say in the first game. The second half of that game, were able to take the lead, could not hold on. The way their defense has played, they should be in a good spot today. You know they'll look to continue to run the ball well as they have, and if they can air it out, as Sine Williams discussed with us, you'll see that coming up shortly. They should put themselves in a good position against Baltimore today.
Great. So, Joe, it looks like the stage is set for what should be a good one. One of these teams is going to be on the plus side of the win-loss column after today. The other goes into the second half of the season looking to crawl out of a hole. What we will do is step aside, take a break, and when we come back, we will head onto the field and talk to today's participants and get their thoughts on the next 60 minutes of football. It's all coming up as we continue to countdown to kickoff right here on the Club Metro pregame show. Stay with us.
For serious athletes, getting hurt is not an if, it's a when. And when the pain hits your knees, your back, or any one of the many injuries common among athletes, KT Tape is there to help. KT Tape is a drug-free elastic sports tape that works when it's stretched and applied to the skin using simple techniques. So don't ignore those nagging sports injuries any longer. Find drug-free pain relief with KT Tape so you can train longer and finish stronger.
I have a secret. I'm done settling. Because this is my secret. No, really. I put it on once. No more touch-ups because this stick actually works.
Secret has pH-balancing minerals, and it helps eliminate odor instead of just masking it. So no more T-Rex waves or covering up stinky bits when you're not cold. Pull it in close. Just trust me, Secret works.
The football used by 70% of high schools and more NCAA programs than any other is also the #1 selling football in the U.S., the Wilson GST game ball. To ensure superior tack and pebble definition, Wilson sources only the finest leather, which is treated with a proprietary Wilson-developed tanning process. A small team of expert craftsmen then constructs each GST game ball right here in the USA.
One of the biggest obstacles for Dakota with football, I feel like, is all of the injuries. He wasn't comfortable in the equipment that he had. From the start of when he got the pads from Zenith, he was a complete different kid.
He's seeing his development now. He's getting to the age where he's seeing his development and he knows what he's going to do to achieve it.
I love being able to watch him do what he loves. Zenith gave me that.
Welcome back to the Club Metro pregame show here as we count down to kickoff here live from Memorial Stadium in New Brunswick, New Jersey. It's time now in the pregame to go down on the field where PDF's Joe Foreman is down talking to today's players and coaches. He's got Warriors defensive coordinator LB Robinson with him now. Let's send it over to him. Joe, take it away.
And I'm here with Warriors defensive coordinator LeBryant Robinson. Coach, your defense has forced 6 turnovers through the first 2 games. What has worked so well, and what has allowed you to effectively force those 6 turnovers?
They're finally believing in each other and understanding that defense is a system. A lot of people always blow defensive off. You know, all you got to do is be aggressive and be able to run after someone, but defense is a system. Everyone has a gap. Everyone has a responsibility, and they're buying into it now, so they're becoming a good pack.
First game against this Nighthawks team last season, you allowed 13. The second game, the team allowed 45. What needs to change from that second matchup here today against this Baltimore squad?
You would remind me of that. The difference is going to be today we're going for a goose egg. So that's what's going to happen today. That's my mindset. I don't want to talk about last year, you know what I mean? But I love playing them. They are a true running team, so they're a good test for a defense. And as a defensive lineman, former defensive lineman, I used to love playing running team.
And that was my third question, Coach LB. This team comes in with a stout running game. What do you have to do to slow that down here in today's game?
Bust their fullback. Take on their fullback. Make the running back have to be on her own, and that's the secret.
The fullback is on notice, Dave. Coach LB, thanks for joining us. Back up to you, Dave.
Very nice, Joe. Obviously, Coach Robinson looking to play some physical football down there on the field and looking to stay on assignment. And, of course, we'll keep our eye on that fullback as well. Joe has made his way down now to Warriors quarterback, number 9, Sine Williams. She's hoping for a big game today. Joe, let's send it back down to you and Sine.
And we're here with Warriors quarterback Sine Williams. Sine, the team really began to hit their stride offensively in the second half during week 1. 3 touchdowns last week. What began to click for this offense?
The line started clicking, the line started moving people, and it opened up holes for the running backs, gave me time to find my receivers. The line stepped up and did what they were supposed to do.
Week 2, big win. What are you looking to carry over from that week 2 performance in today's game against the Nighthawks?
We're looking to carry on our run game, definitely put the ball back into Mo Clancy's hands, get some good yards from her, also from Sierra. Hopefully we can get some good deep balls from Sienna Britt, Jay Todd. Keep pushing that ball.
2 weeks of preparation ahead of this game here today. How much of a role does that extra preparation play coming into a matchup against a team that you see twice this season and saw twice last year?
Really good preparation. We are rested, we are prepared, and we are ready to go.
All right, Sine, thanks for joining us. We look forward to seeing you out there on the field. Best of luck today. Dave, back up to you.
All right, Joe, great job with Sine Williams down there on the field. And Sine, of course, looking to keep the momentum alive from their win a couple of weeks ago against the Havoc. All right, it looks like Joe is on the opposite sideline right now with Nighthawks team owner Tanya Bryan. Joe, we'll send it back down to you.
And we are here with Nighthawks team owner Tanya Bryan. Tanya, your team had a lot of success against this Warriors team last year. What was the key to that success?
Just following our game plan and making sure everybody was doing their job.
A lot of turnovers created by this Warriors defense so far this season. What does your team have to do today to find the end zone consistently?
Just make sure we're not making mistakes. Play a good game, not rush. Obviously turnovers aren't good for anybody, so just making sure we maintain possession of the ball.
3 scores for Tri-State last week. What do you have to do to limit this offense, as you allowed only 6 points per game against them last season?
Mainly just make sure that, we're keeping our offense on the field and keeping them off.
All right, thank you for joining us, Tanya. Dave, back up to you.
Great job as always, Joe. And while Joe makes his way back up to the booth and we get ready for kickoff here live from Memorial Stadium, they have a Mother's Day ceremony going on at the stadium. Might have a couple of minutes past 4 o'clock before we get this one kicked off. But what we will do is we will cut now to a word from all of our sponsors before bringing you Tri-State Warriors football right here on the PDF Sports Network. Stay with us.
want to have fun, and we also want to dominate the world.
I feel like as athletes, we're just always beating ourselves up, so we want to stay at the top of our game.
And KT tape is something that every time I pick it up, I know I'm going to be, best supported and enhanced by, so it's awesome.
A lot of times I'm not even injured. It's just coming from, a hard workout and I'm sore the next day. Just a little tape to relieve the pain and get the most out of my training.
I don't have time to mess around. If something's not working, it's like out of my kit. Just every product they use is simple and it's effective and it helps me feel better. It's a beautiful product that supports you. We all need a little more support in life.
I have a secret. I'm in love again. With this, my secret is a new Secret Dry Spray. Totally revamped. And it smells so good. No hold your breath cloud either. It's fresh, people. And it's secret, so it works all day. Thanks, odor fighting spray. Spray fresh, stay fresh. Fam, this works. Secret.
Welcome back to Memorial Stadium here in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and the Club Metro pregame show. We are just a few minutes away from kickoff. David Pizzuto alongside Joe Foreman, who is back in the booth. And Joe, as we speak, the teams are making some final preparations before kickoff. Let's look now at our keys to the game. For the Warriors, their defense has been sensational through their first two games. Good positive signs from their offense 2 weekends ago. How do they keep the momentum?
As I touched on earlier, the Warriors' offense has been very balanced this season. But as we saw in Week 1, negative plays can completely derail the game plan and turn a lead into a deficit very quickly. Tri-State needs to try and stay balanced on the offensive side of the ball, as they've done well early in the season. But they also have to avoid those drive-stalling negative plays on defense if they continue to force turnovers at the rate that they have have through the first 2 weeks of the season, there isn't much more you can ask for from that unit.
Absolutely. And for the Nighthawks, Joe, 2 big wins against the Warriors last year. You'd have to think they're rolling into New Jersey with some confidence, knowing what they did against them last year. How did they get past the Warriors tonight, get back in the win column?
For the Nighthawks, a point of emphasis has to be protecting the football against this tri-state team on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side, we saw the Warriors struggle in pass protection at times during week 1, and that's something Baltimore can look to exploit in today's game. If they can do that, they should be able to disrupt a Warriors offense that is coming off a 3-touchdown effort in last week's game against the Havoc.
Absolutely. And, Joe, while we do have some time here, some extra time that we have here in the opening, let's take a look at those standings that you referenced moments ago or in the early part of the pregame. You'll notice some of the standings kind of all over the place once we get them on screen. But like you mentioned, the Massey system is what dictates how things go in the WFA.
Well, Dave, why don't you run through those standings? I'll get those up on our screen for you. There they are.
There we go.
All right, there they are. And as you were saying, Dave, the Massey rating, not record, will determine where these teams fall in terms of playoff positioning.
Yeah, and you can see most teams have played 3 games. As you can see, some teams, including the ones that are here tonight, have only played the 2 games. Baltimore, of course, and Tri-State, both of them exercising their bye weeks in week 3. So in a 6-game season, Joe, we've mentioned this before as well, you don't have a lot of time to really figure things out or kind of, play at your own pace and catch up. The games come at you pretty quickly. The season's over before you know it, and if you're not in the top 8, you're going to be on the outside looking in.
And I think it's very important in these games against teams that you will see twice. You have to learn from these matchups. As we saw in week 1, the Warriors played the Wolves very closely, could not come away with a win. You're almost in a position where you have to win that second game to make sure that that's a team you can finish in front of in the standings. The same goes for this Nighthawks team. To put yourself in a 1-game hole against Baltimore and to also see your record fall to 1-2, that's very problematic moving forward in a 6-game season and put you in a position where you might not be able to afford another loss on your record if you're going to make the playoffs. That remains to be seen, but right now the Warriors are in a spot where they could really use a win against the team that they will see twice this year. And as we spoke about earlier during the pregame, they should be able to put themselves in a position to pick up that win, doing a lot of the things that we saw them do well against the Wolves in week 1.
Yeah, and speaking of the Wolves in week 1, on paper, the Wolves overwhelming favorite in that game, but the Tri-State Warriors were either deadlocked at 0-0 or up ahead in that game 6-0 until the 4th quarter when the Wolves pulled away. Finally, Joe, we are very familiar with the rule set here in the WFA, modeled after NCAA football. A couple of minor tweaks compared to the men's pro game. What should we be looking for?
Well, first and foremost, 1 foot in bounds on receptions. That's something that comes up quite a bit. Not as much passing here in the WFA, but we saw a lot more than we expected in that week 1 game. That was something that really stood out to me in that game. Both teams tried to run the ball early. That really didn't work out well, and once they put the ball in the air a bit more during the second half, the complexion of that game really changed. But once again, 1 foot in bounds for a good reception or interception on the defensive side of the ball. Down by contact, if any body part hits the ground, knee, shin, elbow, rear, that ball carrier is down. It is a dead ball. They do not need to be touched down. Ball carriers can also give themselves up in that situation as well. Overtime rules follow the NCAA, so that's something to look out for if we do head to overtime.
Right, and, just talking about, one of the things that you mentioned about the passing game against the running game, something we expected to see a lot in that week 1 game was the run game. But just like you mentioned, both teams went for the pass and really looked for the pass to kind of open up the run game. And so working a little bit in reverse, you'd expect these teams to want to run the football first, then get some yardage through the air. Especially this Nighthawks team, Joe, they like to pound the ball up the middle.
No question about it. And as we mentioned earlier, they only had stats reported for 1 game. In that game, they rushed for well over 100 yards, passed for only 20. So if you're the Warriors coming into this game, your defensive line through the first 2 games of your season has 5.5 sacks. You've been able to put pressure on the opposing quarterback. That has not been a problem. If you can continue to do that, you have to think that makes the offensive side of the ball very difficult on the Nighthawks, a team that passed for just 20 yards in week 1, assuming that was the game that was reported. They'll have to run the ball, and if you know they have to run the ball, that puts your defense in a good position to stop it. easier said than done against this team. We spoke to L.B. Robinson about how his team will look to go about stopping the run and the running game of this Nighthawks offense. But Tri-State's defense, as you said, they have been sensational so far this year. They have wreaked havoc in each of their first 2 games. They've forced 6 turnovers. I mentioned the balance on the offensive side. They've done a lot of things really well, but that doesn't mean too much if they start their season 1-2.
Right, and this is a Tri-State Warriors team that has scored defensively, not this season, but last season they did a couple of times, so that's something to keep our eyes on as well. Coach Robinson, who you interviewed during the pregame, of course, quick to note the outstanding job that his defense is doing so far, staying disciplined and, of course, forcing those 6 turnovers that you've said. So we are looking at about a 4:05 kickoff here. So what we are going to do is send it to break one more time. We've reached close to the top of the hour. We'll cut away. One more final word from our sponsors. When we come back, it will be kickoff to week 4 of the 2023 WFA season. It's the Tri-State Warriors taking on the Baltimore Nighthawks, coming up next only on the PDF Sports Network.
East Coast Trophies and Awards has been serving your awards needs since 1986 and is now a proud sponsor of the PDF Sports Network. From sports-specific trophies and plaques to corporate and business promotions and gifts, East Coast Trophies and Awards is your one-stop shop for all of your crowning achievements, and they always meet the right price. Contact Chris today at 848-223-7071 or visit them at www.eastcoastawards.com.
Cahill drops back and throws. She's got a wide open receiver. Cooper goes to the right, gets a hole, finds enough for a first down, breaks a couple tackles. She's only got one person to beat. She's going to be in for a Minnesota Vixen touchdown.
And she's in for another touchdown.
She's down to the 10, the 5, and she's in. Is she in? For a touchdown!
We are back from Memorial Stadium here in New Brunswick, New Jersey. Battle between a pair of 1-1 teams. One team will exit today on the top half of the standings with a 2-1 record. The other will try to crawl out from 1-2 with the final 3 games of their season. Joe, you know, we've talked about both of these teams, the kind of matchups that are involved, but psychologically, when you're on a bye week, of course, you know, there's always a big question mark over how you come out, whether the rust is back or, you know, whether the extra week's rest got you a little bit healthier, a little bit more vibrant for a game like this. So important, that bye week.
Well, I think both of these teams have to be expecting to come out of their bye week and put forth a strong performance today. I don't think when you have that extra week of preparation as a team, you would expect anything short of a high-level effort out there on the field. Now, as a spectator and as someone calling the game or perhaps a fan of the game, you may think a little bit differently about the bye week, and some say there's often a letdown in that first game back from the bye, but I can assure you neither of those teams out there on the field expect a letdown here today, and we've spoken about it several times already. It is very important for both sides to avoid falling to 1-2 today. That puts them in a very tough spot moving forward this season. Both teams have already lost to the New York Wolves. We know the Warriors will see them again later this season, but Tri-State will also see Baltimore again later this season, and to drop a pair of games against 2 teams that you're playing twice this year doesn't put you in a very good position. If you lose once, many will expect you to lose again. You know that goes against the expectations these teams have for themselves, but a lot on the line here today for both of these teams in terms of potential playoff berth and psychologically as well.
Absolutely, and if you're the Nighthawks coming in, knowing you had the 2 big wins against the Warriors last year, there's an expectation to kind of uphold that rate of play. And, of course, if you are the Warriors, They had to wait, I think, until week 5 or even week 6 to score their first win last year. They get one in week 2 this year, feeling a lot more confident, especially the way they played against the Wolves. This is a golden opportunity to really show how far they've come.
And you're right about that, Dave. They did pick up their first win of the season late last year. We'll be looking for number 2 here today. We'll see if they can get it, as the two teams have met at midfield. And it looks like we're about to have our opening coin toss. One final break before kickoff. We'll be right back with coverage of the Warriors and the Nighthawks right here on the PDF Sports Network.
For serious athletes, getting hurt is not an if, it's a when. And when the pain hits your knees, your back, or any one of the many injuries common among athletes, KT Tape is there to help. KT Tape is a drug-free elastic sports tape that works when it's stretched and applied to the skin using simple techniques. So don't ignore those nagging sports injuries any longer. Find drug-free pain relief with KT Tape so you can train longer and finish stronger.
I have a secret. I'm done settling. Because this is my secret. No, really. I put it on once. No more touch-ups because this stick actually works.
Secret has pH balancing minerals, and it helps eliminate odor instead of just masking it. So no more T-Rex waves or covering up stinky pits when you're not cold. Pull it in close. Just trust me, Secret works.
The football used by 70% of high schools and more NCAA programs than any other is also the #1 selling football in the U.S., the Wilson GST game ball. To ensure superior tack and pebble definition, Wilson sources only the finest leather, which is treated with a proprietary Wilson-developed tanning process. A small team of expert craftsmen then constructs each GST game ball right here in the USA.
One of the biggest obstacles for Dakota with football, I feel like, is all of the injuries. He wasn't comfortable in the equipment that he had. From the start of when he got the pads from Zenith, he was a complete different kid.
He's seeing his development now. He's getting to the age where he's seeing his development and he knows what he's going to do to achieve it.
I love being able to watch him do what he loves. Zenith gave me that.
Welcome back here to Tri-State Warriors football and coverage of the Women's Football Alliance. Week 4 of the season, a pair of 1-1 teams. It looks like the Nighthawks will be receiving first, and they will go from right to left on your screen. The Warriors dressed in their home black uniforms left to right. Now, we do want to mention we will have our scoreboard momentarily with down and distance. Time is being kept in the booth up here. We will have a clock, not on your screen, but we will reference it repeatedly here on the air. That's a big plus for us, Joe, just to know how much time is left in each of the quarters. I know in last game against the Wolves, game came right down to the wire. A last-second 4th down attempt by the Tri-State Warriors came up empty.
Well, if you look back to that game, there was an injury down on the field which delayed the game ahead of that fourth down play, and you have to think that played a role. The players were inactive on the field for no less than 20 or 25 minutes, and then that fourth down play came. The Warriors failed to pick up a first down, and that effectively ended the game as the Wolves would kneel it out after that. But Tri-State bounced back, picked up a win in game number 2. 2 weeks of preparation ahead of this one, and both sides are looking for their second victory of the season.
All right, so we will see how things work out here in week number 4. Now, Tri-State, not much of a kicking game in the first game that we saw, and they came up empty on all 3 of their 2-point conversions 2 weeks ago. We've seen the teams getting the ball first have really won the field position game. We'll see how this one works out, whether or not in the favor of the Nighthawks. And, you know, Joe, in that first week 1 game against the Wolves, we think the Wolves had it all but one time on the Warriors side of the field to start their drives. Huge advantage for them in that game.
That makes it even more impressive what the Warriors did defensively. They had to defend a short field and still continue to come up with stops.
That one skips and lands at about the 22-yard line. Taking it was Pellegrini. She goes over to the right, is able to get some real estate, and is knocked out of bounds at about the 43-yard line. But good starting field position here for the Nighthawks.
Not a start plus territory, but Baltimore certainly will take it as that kickoff skipped to about the 25, 30-yard line and was returned up to the 43. And we said it during the pregame, Dave. We saw a lot of running early in the week 1 game, the last time we covered this Warriors team. And as the game progressed, the two teams looked to air it out more and more. We'll see if that trend continues here in this week 4 matchup, though once again it is the 3rd game for both teams.
We will reference some of the statistics for both of these teams throughout the game, but reminder that Nighthawk statistics were not updated after that week 1 win. And so we have only 1 game's worth of statistics for them, but they will start it off. Lauren Vettok, the quarterback of record, only had 20 passing yards in that week 1 game, but this is a team that likes to run the football, and they have a multi-pronged attack in that area. This one is going to be flipped out to Pellegrini on the right side. Makes one tackler miss and has the first down inside Tri-State territory. So 1 for 1 is Vettok from Pellegrini.
That is a first down.
And a gain of about 14 on the play. So the ball will be spotted at the 44 for the Warriors. They promptly give up the first down of the game, and that was something the Wolves had not been able to do until the middle of the second quarter of their game 3 weeks ago. That snap goes over the head of Vettok. She has to retrieve it. She'll have to throw it towards the sideline, throws it essentially away, and a great play on 1st and 10 of what could have been a disaster. As giving chase to Vettok were a pair of Warriors. Vettok in the opener, 3 for 8 for 20 yards. She did have 2 interceptions, but she ran the ball well. And that's that multi-pronged attack that we were talking about. 2nd and 10.
Crisis averted earlier, Dave, on that last play. There you get a look at the first completion of the game. That went for a nice gain.
They were essentially, unless Vettok was going to tuck that down and run with it, they're essentially going to pass the first 2 plays of this game. Not what we'd expect. And there is a play blown up in the backfield. Nowhere for Avery Edelman to go as she was met promptly. It's going to be 3rd and long.
That was a big hit in the backfield by Tri-State. Often tough to tell the numbers on these Warrior uniforms, but I believe that was Melissa Blaze with another big hit from the linebacker spot.
Yeah, Blaze.
And it indeed was.
Yeah, Blaze has been terrific this season.
The numbers on the back, very clear. It's the numbers on the front that we have trouble seeing.
Blaze, one of the leaders in tackles of this Tri-State team. She's also forced a fumble this season. 3rd down and 13. Just inside Tri-State's half of play. Think they'd put it up here. Long snap count. Vettok takes it, looks to her left on the slant, and the pass is completed. It still on her feet, but short of the first down. It'll be 4th and about 2 on the play. But a nice pitch and catch that time. So Tanya Bates.
That was a good effort by Bates to fight for some extra yards, and with a fourth down coming up, those extra yards she gained on the play, very precious.
Yeah, for Bates, that was her first reception of the season. Not counting, of course, their Week 2 defeat against the Wolves. So officially a 4th down and 2. Looks like a long 2. But first crucial part of the game for both of these teams. This ball spotted just outside the 35. Vetok will go under center. Pellegrini in motion. Stops, reverts back. Vetok will take it herself. It looks like she might have enough, depending on which official wins the spot. And it was the near one who did, and it will be a first down.
That's a gutsy call, Dave. That was a long 2 they needed on that 4th down, but they got to the line pretty quickly, snapped it quickly, and perhaps the Warriors just weren't expecting a quarterback keeper as Pyle was pushed across for the first down.
So, pass setting up the run and manageable down and distance there on 4th. Vetok continues to work under center here. Fresh set of downs, second first down of the series. The give is up the middle, and carrying a couple of tacklers is Edelman. Gains positive yards, about 4 on the play.
That's a good first down run, setting up a second and manageable as they had a second and long on that previous set of downs when they had to throw it away. But they were able to recover from that, pick up a first, and now they're moving deeper and deeper into Warriors territory as, once again, this Tri-State defense finds themselves backed up against their own end zone, or getting close to it anyway. And in Week 1, they excelled defending in their own territory.
Yeah, they did not give up a first down until, I think, very late in the first half of that game against the Wolves. Officially a 2nd and 5 here. Lone setback with Vetok, as I believe Hollister, but it's going to be a quick throw in the flat again to Pellegrini. She reverses and now heads down the sideline, and she will have another first down. The ability to make the first defender miss, Joe, has been the key for Pellegrini.
And that's a really tough position that Cav Johnson was put in on that play. You really can't fault her in that spot. She's listed on the roster as a defensive end, dropped off into the flat, and was matched up against the wideout Pellegrini on that play. Pellegrini caught that ball moments after it was snapped, as you'll see here on this replay. Bubble screen, but she had just one defender to beat, 2 blockers up the field, and those blocks got her a few extra yards along that near sideline.
Coach Robinson saying his team needs to stay disciplined in their lanes, and Pellegrini's been able to escape a couple of times. Give credit to her, though, as we have some movement up front. Going down hard was Courtney Burkett at the line of scrimmage. You'd believe the Tri-State Warriors guilty of coming in a little early there, and they'll march it 5 yards further down the field.
And they certainly were the guilty party on that play as this Nighthawks offense moves a bit closer to the end zone. This next snap will come from the Tri-State 15-yard line.
Yeah, great first drive so far. Started at the 43-yard line of the Nighthawks. They are going to work to the line pretty quickly here. 1st and 5. I formation. The give is to the halfback, and they go up the middle. Not much there, although they were able to move the pile enough to squirt out and get close to the first down.
And this could be a big snap coming up, though. It is just 2nd down after that penalty nonetheless. They may have a chance to take a shot for the end zone here. They're only about 11 yards away, but on a 2nd and short, very often you'll see perhaps a play-action fake or maybe a jump ball into the end zone. Playbook completely open in this spot on 2nd and short.
They like to run the football, and they move a lot of running backs in and out of the game. This give now up the middle, and good enough for the first down is Bianca Miner, who had just a single carry in the opening week of the season and gives the Nighthawks a 1st and goal.
First time today that the Warriors will be tested in a goal-to-go situation, and we said it during Week 1. They were great in these spots, came up with an interception in the end zone. Might have been 2 in the end zone during that game, but they were so good in this type of position. Not a position they hope to be in this early in the game, as so far the Nighthawks offense has had their way with this Tri-State defense marching right up the field.
So here we go, 1st down and goal, opening drive of the game as we creep on just about 8 minutes to go here in the first quarter. Long snap count. The give is to Minor. Minor works right side, and that time is met by Blaze and others. Gain of about 1, maybe 2 on the play. It'll be 2nd and goal.
That was a big tackle there by Blaze. She was the first to get to the back, and didn't look like initially that she was going to be able to take her down. As you'll see here on this replay, that was a good effort from the back Minor. It looked initially like she might be able to drag Blaze forward a bit, but she got some help from her teammates in black. Back is taken down. 2nd and goal from the 5.
Nighthawks spread formation, 3 wide receivers. They go I formation as well behind Vetok. It's like Minor continues to be the running back, and they go on the end around to Pellegrini, and she gains it for the touchdown.
That was a well-designed play there by Baltimore. It looked like they were going to hand off behind right guard once again. Instead, they bring the end around. Pellegrini, who was so heavily involved in this drive, takes that handoff and walks in for a touchdown. As you see the attention that backfield of the Nighthawks commanded. The Warriors on that play did not stay in their lanes. No one set that edge on the left side, and the play action on that one into that end around, setting up a touchdown for Baltimore.
Yeah, Tri-State over pursuing on the run inside. Left a nice lane for Pellegrini. The point after is good by Jessica Johnson. And so the Nighthawks go up 7-0 on their opening drive of the first quarter, taking over 7.5 minutes off the clock as well.
And I think that's something that could have easily gone overlooked on that drive, Dave. Happy you brought it up. A very long drive to open the game for Baltimore, and for a team that has been so good running the ball this year, to maintain that level of ball control is big for them.
Yeah.
Giving Tri-State as few opportunities as possible could certainly play a role in the result of this game. And there's a lot of pressure on the Warriors here on their opening drive to at least make something happen, as their defense, for the first time that we've seen them this season, did not provide much resistance on the opening drive of the game for the Nighthawks.
Yep, and nobody will really talk about it after the game, Joe, but what a huge play that Vetok made on that snap that went well over her head to double back, grab that ball, and throw it away. That could have been a 15, 16-yard loss on the play, could have derailed the entire drive. Instead, she's able to throw that one away, continue the downs, and positive yardage from there.
And I said it at the time, Dave, that play could have been catastrophic for the Nighthawks, and they were able to avoid losing any yardage on that play. They lost nothing more than a down, and credit goes to Vetok for that, as you mentioned.
Good kickoff that ends end over end at the 20-yard line, taken by Tri-State, and now doubling over to the sideline, getting the 35. Now there are flags down as Wise is punched out of bounds at about the 40. Now a late flag comes in at the sideline as well. So we could have multiple fouls against both teams here on this kickoff return.
If I had to guess based on what I saw on the monitor, it might have been block in the back on Tri-State, followed by a late hit for Baltimore.
Yep.
But I think the late hit is certain.
Yeah, we might get another look at it, maybe even slow down a bit as we get to the sideline. We'll see.
See if we can spot the initial penalty. So far, everything looks clean. The flag came in once the returner, Netta Wise, bounced it to the outside, and there it is, block in the back, no question. So,
guilty of the block in the back was Tori Kratsov, and then there with the late hit was the kicker on the play, Jessica Johnson.
That's a bad penalty by Baltimore. They were going to have Tri-State backed up deep in their own territory. Instead, looks like the ball is going to be spotted around the 36-yard line for Tri-State on their opening drive. Make that the 40.
Yeah, so we'll have it at the 40. We'll Tri-State.
First and 10.
So decent starting field position after a pretty good kickoff and a decent return by Wise. And the ball will be handed to number 9, Sine Williams, who Joe had the pleasure of talking to during pregame. Williams this season 16 of 40 in the air, 224 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. She's also run the ball 9 times for 43 yards. So plenty of action behind center for Williams. And she mentioned to you, Joe, how they did also want to run the football well today.
No question about it. The balanced attack has been key for them so far this season. And the running game also took off in the second half of week 1. A lot went right offensively in half number 2 against the Wolves. A lot more went right in week 2.
So out of the shotgun, the give is underneath. I believe that was Clancy getting the first carry of the game for Tri-State. Forward for about 2 or 3 on the play.
So on that play, it looked like Clancy was going to have a head of steam coming out of the backfield. Didn't see who it was, but somebody on that defensive line for Baltimore was able to trip her up just a bit, and that slowed her down enough to make that tackle just beyond the line of scrimmage. What could have been a gain of maybe 5 or 6 instead is a gain of just 2.
So Tri-State for the first time, at least that we've seen here on PDF, playing from behind in the first half, looking for that healthy response. They go with 3 wide receivers, 2 here to the near side of the screen. The give once again underneath to Clancy. Good opening hole that gets closed quickly at about the 45. So it'll be 3rd down and 5 as Clancy goes this time right side for 3.
That was a short gain of about 3, but Tri-State has to be pretty happy with the blocking they got on that last play, as you'll see here. An extra back in the backfield, offset a couple of steps in front of the quarterback, a very unorthodox shotgun/pistol look. I think you'd call that one a pistol strong look for Tri-State, and that sets up your blocking pretty well off the handoff, and they got good blocking. The gain didn't necessarily reflect that, but it's 3rd and manageable, 5 to go for a first down.
So here we go, 3rd down and 5. Big point on this early drive here. First opening drive for the Warriors here on their home field. Clancy continues to stay in the backfield with Williams. They go with 4 wide receivers. Nighthawks look like they're playing press coverage. Now they back off a little bit, allow for some room. Williams pumps to the right and gets taken down. First one in on that was Ashley Branch, as she will get credit for that sack. And looks like Williams didn't like what she saw. Joe hesitated, but hesitated too long.
Well, I was looking at the stances that the Nighthawk defensive backs were in. It was very unorthodox. You said it. They were in press coverage, but they were angled about 45 degrees at the hips facing the outside, so facing toward the sidelines, as you'll see right here on the replay. After that, they backed up out of the press coverage, starting near the top of your screen. And you have to wonder what would have happened if they got caught mid-movement, or perhaps if the Warriors had just handed the ball off. There weren't many defenders in the box once the defense backed up in coverage.
Yeah, late linebacker blitz on that one as well. Coming in to punt this one away is Sienna Britt. 8 punts this season, have averaged only 17 yards. Looking for a line driver that'll hit the turf here. High snap. Britt's able to field clean, and there's the line drive she was looking for. Unable to play it clean, having to back up and try to get it as Brewer, and the best she could do is fall back on top of it. And Tri-State will take the result of that play. About 28, 30-yard punt.
Well, Brewer and the Nighthawks are very fortunate, 1, that she got on top of that football, and 2, that it didn't skip off of her hands and roll closer to the end zone, because by that point, it would have been a foot race. And when you have the Gunners coming after that football as a returner with your back to them, that makes it a very tough scoop, or perhaps an attempt to dive on the ball. Very fortunate there for Baltimore that hit Brewer's hands and came to rest in front of her. And she very nearly still failed to get on top of it. Dangerous play for them.
4:09 to go in the first quarter. And counting here. But a big moment of the game here for this Tri-State Warriors defense, yielding the touchdown on the game's opening drive. Looking to make a stand here. Vetok with the pump for the right side and taken down hard by Dorsey.
Quay Dorsey came in with 3.5 sacks. Give her 4.5, Dave. She's been a menace on the defensive line for this Warriors defense. And she comes up with the first big play on that side of the ball for Tri-State.
And Quay Dorsey this season, Joe, 21.5 tackles, 15.5 for losses. So she has just lived in the opponent's backfield this season so far. She's been outstanding. And the Nighthawks, who did well not to go backwards on their first drive, now are in a hole, 2nd and 15. Under center is Vetok. 2 receivers here on the near side. And the look is to the near side. It's Pellegrini once again out in the flat, looking to gain the corner, does, and is taken out at about the 32-yard line. So perhaps back to the original line of scrimmage where it'll be 3rd and long.
And it's very clear so far that open field tackling is going to be very important for this Warriors defense. Baltimore likes to get the ball out quickly. They like those bubble screens from the slot receiver position. That oftentimes will put your defensive back on an island. We saw a defensive end put on an island in that spot on the first drive. The Warriors will have to tackle well in this game.
Now trips to the right side and Pellegrini in the middle of that 3 wide receiver set on the far side of the field. 3rd down and about 11 yards. Vetok will look in that direction. That one almost picked off, but at the very least, incomplete. Looked like Wise was in there on the pass defense, and will be 4th down and long.
Well, if Wise comes up with that one, that very well could have been 6 the other way. It was a bit high. I think that would have been what stopped her from taking it back. But, Dave,
she got a great read on it.
All of the white jerseys in that area had their backs to the football. Nobody was going to catch it except one of the defenders in black. And we saw in week 1 a potential pick 6 was dropped. That completely changed that game.
Punt skied in the air, and that will find the turf and take a gorgeous Nighthawks bounce inside the 20 and out of bounds at the 15. So do the quick math in our heads, 53-yard punt. And Nighthawks will take that any day of the week as the Warriors will be starting at their own 17.
That's a tough break for the Warriors. They had Baltimore punting from inside of their own territory, and field position completely flips with that friendly roll on the punt. And they will start this drive about 30 yards further in their own territory than they did their first drive, as they will snap this one from, it looks like, perhaps about the 18-yard line. I thought it was a bit deeper than that.
Yeah. Well, Joe and I say it just about every broadcast we are on. Special teams play such a huge role in these games. Even the extra point that was scored by the Nighthawks, the Tri-State Warriors might be chasing that point pretty much all game, as they are a team that goes for 2 at the conclusion of their scores. But for right now, mission number 1 is to get on the scoreboard in a 7-0 hole with 2:07 remaining here in the first quarter. Williams will operate out of the shotgun. Once again, the Nighthawks draw back, and we have a flag down. It'll be a false start on the Warriors. And another thing that Joe mentioned during the pregame, the ability to curtail the pre-snap penalties have really been, or really need to be, key here for the Warriors. But both teams now starting their second drives of the game in a hole. For the Nighthawks, they lost 5 yards on their first down attempt, and now a penalty here for the Warriors puts them at 1st and 15, just outside their own 10. Williams, once again, out of the shotgun. The give is underneath, and moving the pile forward, that time is Mendez. Sierra Mendez getting to about the 15-yard line, so a gain of about 3 on the play. And boy, those holes are closing quickly there after looked like Mendez had a really nice lane with which to operate. 2nd down and 12 will be upcoming.
2nd and 12 for the Warriors. Ball at the 15.
Still a 2nd and long here, and Warriors really haven't put the ball up at all in this one. Williams went back to pass once, but was promptly sacked on the play. They may need the air here on this drive, even to prove that they can get their passing game involved. Trips to the right side. Williams with the long count. Low snap. She's able to corral it. Now looks in the flat to Muccio. Muccio gains the 20 and is popped out there. A gain of about 5 or 6. And that'll set up about a 3rd and 7.
From 2nd and long to 3rd and manageable with that completion. Still not the position you want to be in with a 3rd down and 7, but it certainly beats what would have been a 3rd down and 12 if you don't gain any yards on that last play. And the way this game has gone thus far, if you're Tri-State, you'd really love to convert here, because if you don't, you give Baltimore a chance, in all likelihood, getting started somewhere near midfield, perhaps even inside of Tri-State territory once again. And ball control has been paramount early in this game. That very long drive by Baltimore really set the tone to open this one. The Tri-State defense stepped up on drive number 2. They'd like to keep it with their offense here.
Yeah, and the Warriors, I don't believe, have to run a play here before this quarter expires, and it does. So we are through 15 minutes complete here. 1 quarter in the books. Your score, the Nighthawks 7 and the Warriors nothing. They'll switch sides of the field when we come back. Second quarter action.
Your Tri-State Warriors 0.
I was all for it from the beginning, secretly.
I told her that, you know, if you joined, you're in it. She's fast for her age, and I said, look, if they can't catch you, then they can't tackle you.
We, believe it or not, found an extra small pair of Zenith pads, and I was like, hey, we're gonna get these.
You know, Zenith just fits better. They love it.
Touchdown, come on!
Right on time, we are back here for our third down attempt for the Warriors on the right side of the field from where we are. Williams might look to take it herself. She's running out of room, might get back to the line of scrimmage here, but promptly taking down at the 22-yard line. So short of the first down, it'll be a 4th and 5. But again, Joe, unable to get the ball out because of the coverage down the field.
We saw in week 1 during the first half, the Warriors really had a tough time passing the football. That changed in the second half. They began to move it well and with some more consistency. But early in this game, once again, they're having trouble getting the ball out, protecting their quarterback. Good job by Williams to avoid a much bigger loss on the play. In fact, they actually gained a couple. It's 4th and 5, still setting up a punt.
So Britt had a pretty decent punt her first time up line drive that Brewer could not handle. Let's see what happens on this one as the Warriors fail to pick up a first down for the second straight drive. And that one is shanked off the side of the foot of Britt and will go promptly out of bounds inside the 30-yard line. So a net of less than 10 yards on that one that Britt would love to have back. The Nighthawks are going to have outstanding field position.
Well, the Warriors really could have used a bounce more like the one the Nighthawks got on their punt in that spot, because had they gotten a bounce like that, perhaps they could have gotten this drive started for Baltimore closer to midfield. Instead, their defense is really up against it now as Baltimore will get started inside of the Tri-State 30-yard line. Big opportunity here for the Nighthawks, who, as we saw, have a kicker starting deep in Tri-State territory. When does a field goal attempt move on to the table should they come up with a 4th down?
Interesting decision without a doubt. This time it's Minor up the middle. Not much there. Once again, the Tri-State Warriors defense up the middle, very strong. Gain of about 1 on the play. We set up a 2nd and long. Minor only registered 1 carry in week 1, but multi-dimensional running attack for this team. She's had a bunch of the carries so far.
And you said it, Dave. This Tri-State defense strong up front. They also are strong at the linebacker spot and in the secondary. At all 3 levels defensively, the Warriors have playmakers who are capable of changing the game on 1 snap. And they certainly need a big play in this spot, at the very least, trying to keep the Nighthawks to just a field goal, maybe less.
Pellegrini is the player we've been keeping our eyes on right now. She's left alone in the slot. They may look in her direction, working on the sideline, but that is well overthrown. They were looking in her direction.
Out and up on that play. Right. And earlier in the week, our camera operator, Pat Gilorenzo, and I connected on that play for a touchdown, so we know how lethal it can be. And right there was a tight window, but it looks like the safety for Tri-State stayed disciplined on that play and did not bite on the move to the outside. Very tight window for a potential completion in that spot. Good job defensively by Wise to stay home in the secondary.
Absolutely. Great safety help as well on that one. And another big 3rd down. Now, you'd like to think this is 4 down territory, so 2 cracks at it here for the Nighthawks. if they pass up on the field goal attempt. 2 running backs in the backfield with Vetak. Minor skates out to the left. That pass up the middle, and it is caught. And breaking a tackle and heading in for the score is Tanya Bates.
I said it earlier, Dave. Open field tackling would be big for the Warriors in this game. That's not what I had in mind when I said that, as that was a big window there for Vetak to throw into. You'll see it momentarily on replay, but there was a nice window there for that throw, and there certainly was a chance for the Warriors to make a tackle in the secondary. They failed to do so. That goes for 6, and now an opportunity here for Baltimore to go in front by 2 scores.
There has been some space in the middle of the field for the Nighthawks to work. They've tried to complete that pass on a couple of occasions. That time Bates was open and was able to take it the rest of the way. We'll get another look at it after this point after attempt. It is down, up, and it is good. So through the uprights, makes it a 14-0 game here. So the Nighthawks take advantage of the short field as we get another look at that touchdown.
You'll see it, the motion pre-snap. Did that have an impact? Well, I think the attention that Pellegrini drew certainly had an impact on that play, as Bates was left wide open coming over the middle on that post route. As I said, there was a late opportunity to make a tackle for Tri-State, but that would have been probably inside the 5-yard line at the earliest. And with that, the Nighthawks go in front by 14 points.
Yep. So, again, we don't have stats from the second game that the Nighthawks played, but they only had 20 yards passing in their opening season victory, a 27-6 win. And they are well over that here in the early stages of the second quarter of this one. And they have a commanding 14-0 lead over the Tri-State Warriors, who need to crawl out of this hole and still have not registered a first down in this game, 1 quarter plus.
If you're Tri-State, you have to find a way to protect your quarterback. Sine Williams has shown she's a more than capable passer when given the time to get the ball out. The balanced attack has been key through their first 2 games. They still have to run the football, but I think if they're able to complete some passes and protect their quarterback, they should be able to run it as well off of that, as fortunately for Tri-State, that will skip into the end zone.
So a touchback here for Tri-State will have them operate still deep in their own territory, so something the Nighthawks will take, even though they think they got the break on that. Well, we think it anyway. Tri-State benefiting from that touchback could have been very dangerous.
Well, I'll tell you, if that ball came to rest near the goal line, that was big trouble. And I think that turned out about as well as it could for Tri-State in that spot.
Now, the one negative with Tri-State is they started their second drive in the hole after the false start penalty on a 1st and 15. Otherwise, they have been able to, piece together 2, 3, 5 yards at a clip. They just haven't been able to string it along so far.
I said it during the pregame. If you're Tri-State, you have to avoid those negative plays. Those often derail drives, and we've seen quite a few of those already. Even if it's a loss of 1 or 2, that's still putting you in a tough spot in 2nd and 3rd down. You don't get many more chances after that.
So 1st and 10 at the 20. Drive number 3 for the Tri-State Warriors. Gone 3 and out on their first 2 drives. Once again, the Nighthawks back off defensively, and once again, whistles down as the Tri-State Warriors are once again offside. Happened on the far side of the field with the receiver, Joe. And again, it's the Nighthawks going from press coverage, then backing off, has caused Tri-State to move twice.
And you have to wonder what the adjustment to that will be, either on this drive or following the conclusion of the first half. There's still plenty of time to go here in the second quarter, and Tri-State will get the football to start half number 2. So if they can get on the board once here in this first half, that could be enough to give them an opportunity at a game-tying drive to open the third quarter. But to make that a possibility, they have to score, and they have a long way to go to do so.
Absolutely, and now they have to crawl out of a 1st and 15 hole. Tri-State looking for their first down of the game. 12 and a half minutes to go here in the first half. Once again, the Nighthawks back off. This is going to be Clancy, this time off right side, and she is put down for a loss. So that'll be about a 3-yard loss, Joe. It'll back them up even further. It'll be 2nd and 18.
Well, if you're Tri-State and you see those defensive backs backing off, looks like we have an injury on the play. And you see on your screen, or you will see following a look at this replay, several players down to a knee now. And it's tough to tell if that was the ball carrier who stayed down. I believe it was.
Yeah, certainly looks like it.
Trainers attending to the fallen Warrior right now, but as I mentioned earlier, we did see a lengthy delay for injury on 2 separate occasions during week 1, and training staff here at the facility did a great job attending to the injured player in that game. And in the second instance, if I'm not mistaken, an ambulance had to be called. And that's what delayed the game ahead of that 4th down snap for Tri-State very late in that one. Fortunately here, that doesn't appear as if it's going to be required, and the injured player helped to her feet. Dave, you have the binoculars.
Yep,
who was that went down? Was that Clancy?
It is Clancy. And she is being carried off the field. Looks like favoring that right ankle, but looks like we'll get back to play momentarily here. It'll be a 2nd down and long for Tri-State. Clancy's got healthy majority of the touches here in this first quarter plus, and we know that Ciara Mendez has run the ball as well for this Tri-State team. You'd have to think she will be called upon here in this situation to take over for Clancy.
See if we can spot who it is in that backfield ahead of the snap as well.
Officially 2nd and 17 here. Tri-State needs to get a bunch of that back here on this play. Muccio is the receiver in motion. Once again, Williams under duress. Not many options. She throws it in the direction of Muccio, but that one was incomplete. Pass was thrown low and in traffic. It'll be 3rd and long.
And it was indeed Mendez in the backfield. You called it, Dave. And on that play, Mendez came through with a big block, which is what gave Williams the chance to extend that play and attempt a pass for Muccio. It fell incomplete, but that could have resulted in another sack were it not for the blocking in the backfield by Mendez. And I was going to say after the last play, if Baltimore continues to back off their defensive backs and we see handoffs like the one we saw from Tri-State on 1st down, it's going to be a tough tackle for the Nighthawk defensive backs backpedaling in those spots should the running back escape from the backfield.
And with their ability to get to the quarterback, you wonder if the Nighthawks send even more pressure here when you have to get 17 yards in one play. Now, we do have a timeout here that's called by the Warriors. So that'll be the first timeout called so far in this one. And this timeout is brought to you by Christo's Pizza and Grill, located at 1052 Livingston Avenue in North Brunswick. Call your own timeout and order now at 732-543-0891 or visit ChristosPizzaandGrill.com. That's Christos with a C. Delicious food and free delivery available now.
I'm calling my own timeout, Dave. I'll be right back.
That's right. Christos, I hope they can deliver to the press box here. I'm sure they know where it would be, but I want to thank all of our sponsors, and we hope that you've been able to view some via the commercial breaks, and the Tri-State Warriors want you to please make use of our sponsors, their products, their eateries. It's what makes the WFA and the Tri-State Warriors season possible, and our broadcast as well.
Some would say those food spots are what fuels the broadcast, so those are very important to us as well.
Yep, and should mention, too, that today is the eve of Mother's Day, and Tri-State Warriors had a really nice arrangement for that during pregame, and I want to send a shout-out to my wife and the best mother out there. Jen Pizzuto is watching at home. Jen, thank you for tuning in as well. More shout-outs to come. As this on a 3rd and long, that pass is caught and up the middle, well short of the 1st down, but a good, healthy, positive play that time. Sienna Britt with the reception.
We saw Britt with a big reception back in week 1, and that will make this, looks like a 4th down and about 7 to go. And a punt is upcoming in this spot, but at the very least, an encouraging sign for the passing attack of Tri-State. They really hadn't mustered much. That may actually be their first completion of the game, if I'm not mistaken.
It is, I believe, unless there was one in the flat that went for minimal yards. Now, we're going to have another timeout here, and Sine Williams went to the sideline to get a play, Joe. So there wasn't just an automatic punt team coming in and let's punt this one away. Now Williams is coming back to the sideline, perhaps to get some direction. Did have an injury as well on the play. Looks like Avento is coming back out of the game, or maybe not. That might have been Kratsov coming out.
Well, I thought they were punting because Williams left the huddle, and you said it, Dave. She went to get a play. They are going to go for it here on 4th down, and you really can't blame them in this spot.
Well, they need something positive offensively. They got their first big positive play of the game on that last play. This is pretty dangerous here, but with the way their kicking game has been, maybe not the worst decision. Williams will need some time. She's going to bootleg out to her right, maybe tucking it down herself, and she's going to get bottled up, maybe to the line of scrimmage, but the Nighthawks will take over once again in outstanding field position.
Well, you said it, Dave. I think that last punt is a big reason why they went for it. I hadn't even gotten a chance to mention that ahead of that 4th down snap. I'm glad you did. And on that play, on the rollout, it looked like there may have been just one opportunity to throw. Most of the receivers were either tangled up with defensive backs or engaged in blocks. And we are going to get a second look at it in just a few moments. You'll see it. When Williams rolled out, it looked like there was only one target for her down the field. But let's see if that was indeed the case. And there you see it down the field. Just one target on that play. That was a designed run, it appears.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there, Joe. And, of course, when you flush yourself out to one side of the field, you cut off the other side almost automatically. Pellegrini in motion the other way. The give will be up the middle, and there is nothing happening as another tackle right near the line of scrimmage results in no yardage for Bianca Miner. Be 2nd and 10.
And that being said, going back to that 4th down play one final time, though there was only one route on the play, it looked like off the cut there may have been a chance to throw. Whether or not Williams had room to get rid of the football and a mass of bodies, unclear. But I think there certainly was an opportunity to at least make an attempt to throw that ball toward the sideline.
Yeah, Williams has run a little bit this season, but most of the time because she's had to. Not many design runs there, but kind of hard to tell there. Maybe that first read wasn't there, and that's when she would need it to take off. Single running back in the game is Miner. Trips right side for Vitak, and she is on a design run. Left side of the field, manages to gain the edge. She's at the 20, the 10, and will go in for the score.
What an explosive play by the Nighthawks. Signal caller, 3 touchdowns for Baltimore here in this first half. There was pre-snap motion on the wide side of the field. Pellegrini was in that set on the near side of your screen. You see it there. She was in motion, and all of the defense's attention was drawn that way. It was a foot race to the sideline. Vitak won that foot race, and she takes it up the sideline and in for another Nighthawk score.
By our count, that is her 3rd touchdown via the ground this season. That one goes for 29 yards. So Vitak through the air and now on the ground by herself. Still early stages of the second quarter. And looking to make it 3 for 3 is Jessica Johnson on the point after. Spot is down. The line drive kick is good. And Johnson 3 for 3 in that department. And it's 21-0 Nighthawks.
Well, now sense of urgency for Tri-State dialed up here as they need to score before halftime, trailing by 3 scores. And we saw in week 1 no score at the break, at the conclusion of the first half. And then in the second half, 20 points were scored. Right now, Tri-State needs 21. And as I said before, that pass completion late on their previous drive, an encouraging sign. They need points now, trailing by 21.
So, yeah, absolutely. The Warriors, who are without a first down yet in this game, and a team that has only given up 14 points this entire season through the first 8 quarters, have given up 21 here in 1 quarter and 6 minutes. You know, the Warriors, Joe, are not a team that's built to really come back down, from double digits or, 20, 15, 20 points. So this is going to be a real test to their character and a real test to see if they can scratch their way even back in this game and get themselves within firing distance of the Nighthawks. sky-high kick lands at the 25-yard line, promptly heading towards the sideline, running out of room down at about the 34-yard line. I think that was Britt.
You're right,
That
it
one.
was.
It was men. Yes, it was. So Britt with the return of about 10 yards to the 34-yard line.
Warriors may not be in a must-score situation on this drive, but at the very least, they have to ensure that Baltimore does not score again here in this first half. So at the very least, you'd like to keep possession of this football for several minutes and perhaps force the Nighthawks to put the ball in the air in order to score again. But based on their extra points, it looks like their kicker may be capable from perhaps 20 or 30 yards. We'll see if it comes to that late in this first half, but before we reach that point, huge drive for Tri-State coming up here.
So here we go, 1st and 10 from their own 34-yard line. Second best starting field position, and once again, pre-snap whistle and another offsides called, or false start called, on the Warriors.
And those are backbreakers early in drives, especially before your first snap. You have to think that that's a situation where you could avoid a penalty like that. You get the information you need before your offense takes the field. You know you're heading out there following that kick return, barring a turnover. And instead of getting onto the field and executing on their first snap of the drive, we've seen it a couple of times where they've been flagged for a false start.
Yeah, it's a carbon copy of what happened on the last drive. And you brought it up, Joe. You said, I wonder how they're going to deal with that. Well, they haven't dealt with it yet. That's the second straight drive that's happened when the Nighthawks pull off from their press coverage. Snap to Williams. She's looking towards the sideline, and it's caught by Wise. Wise is going to be taking down at about the 35-yard line. That was a perfect throw from Williams, and Wise makes the connection, about a 30-yard gain.
What a ball by Sine Williams. Go route up the sideline. You'll see it at the bottom of your screen, and that is exactly what this Tri-State offense needed. Over the top of the corner, just wide of the safety, who was also beaten on that play by Wise. Big tackle at the end of that play by the Nighthawks, number 18, Brianna Brewer, to prevent what could have been a touchdown. And just like that, the Warriors' offense is in business.
Yeah, such an important play for the Warriors. Not only is it their first down, but it shows the Nighthawks that is there, and it's something they need to pay attention to, especially in press coverage, which is what they're in once again. Williams continues to operate out of the shotgun. Heavy pressure on Williams. Is able to get past one wave of defense, but she's going to be bottled up. A loss of 5 on the play. Lucky that ball didn't come out either with the blind side hit at the end. Nighthawks getting in that backfield, Joe, quickly.
Dave, after that big completion, I am not surprised at all that Baltimore brought a blitz. You will see it right here. They sent 6, and they may have blocked 2.
Yep.
Out of the 6. 4 white jerseys in the backfield. No chance for Williams. She couldn't even get out of the pocket in order to throw that ball away. And we'll see, perhaps, if Tri-State moving forward looks to utilize a bit more of the screen game. We've seen that from Baltimore in this one so far, but the Warriors have to find a way to get the ball out a bit more quickly. When given time, Williams has done what we've seen on 2 of the last 3 pass attempts for Tri-State. Unfortunately for her in this offense, that time hasn't been there in most cases.
Yeah, you'd like to think the Nighthawks are taking that screen game away with their press coverage here right at the line of scrimmage, backing off at the last second on some of these plays. 2nd and 16. Once again, the pressure's there, middle of the field, and that's incomplete, but the flags come out. Intended for Britt on the play, and looked like she might have been held the back of her jersey.
And that's one potential product of that press coverage, a bit more hand fighting, defensive backs and wideouts getting tangled up. We'll get a look at it here on replay near the top of your screen. And that was definitely a hold.
Yeah, that right arm.
Yeah, no question about it.
Whistled against Corey Stokes, the defensive back here for the Nighthawks. So ball will be spotted at the 35-yard line. It's 1st and 10. Williams once again, shotgun, hesitates, is going to get bottled up. Another big loss on the play. A little bit of indecision there in the backfield for Williams, and she got eaten up.
Well, there was no time to hesitate in that backfield if you're Williams, and we've seen the pressure that Baltimore has brought on 2 of these last 3 snaps now. Here you'll see it again.
Yep.
They sent 6 on that blitz. And once again, Tri-State maybe blocked 3.
Yeah, and that blitz is working for the Nighthawks. I mean, they are getting in there fast, and there's really not much for Williams to do. Now, maybe you could say she can get rid of that and try to get it to the sidelines and not take the sack, but very, very difficult when that ball hits your fingers via the shotgun formation and there's 2 or 3 white jerseys on top of you. Not much she can do. And it will be a 2nd down and 17. Once again, a big hole. Once again, the Nighthawks go press coverage. Really no deep safeties at all here. Nighthawks once again rush a bunch. And in the backfield, nowhere to go. First to the ball was Brooke Parker, the linebacker. Another heavy loss. And there will be a timeout call. Looks like an official timeout to attend to an injured player, but just nowhere to go.
Absolutely nowhere to go on that play, as it is an injured Nighthawk that is down and being attended to on the field. And on that play, once again, an all-out blitz, and you just get the feeling that moving forward in this game, Tri-State is going to need their receivers to win against the defensive coverage one-on-one. If Williams gets the time, those opportunities should be there with the pressure being brought by Baltimore. We'll see if Tri-State can figure out their blocking scheme.
Well, this timeout on the field is being brought to you by Tons of Buns food truck, which is actually here at the stadium today. Find out where Tons of Buns is by visiting them on Instagram and Facebook. Tons of Buns 21 on Instagram and tons_of_buns 2021 on Facebook. Mouth-watering creations going on now. Like, follow, visit, and book us Tons of Buns food truck.
Well, Lewis needs to go find Tons of Buns at the half. He'll bring a meal back up to the booth for us. Lewis Matrone, our engineer today.
And if you could see some of the photos that we were sent of the food truck and some of the food that was involved, I think we'd be clearing out here momentarily. But if you do have a chance, please visit them. And they are at the stadium here today. Nice enough to set up shop by the opposite side of the field. So approaching 5 minutes here in the second quarter. 3rd down and very long, officially 21. They work a pass out into the flat. Not much going on there. They do get 2 or 3 yards on the play. I think on a play like that, Joe, you're hoping that your ball carrier can shed some tackles, but really not to be.
Well, they got the ball out quickly. That's a start. But when you do that in a situation like that with the pressure coming, you need your wide out or tight end, whoever it may be, on that reception to make a defender miss, and then you're in business. And we saw earlier in the game the Tri-State defense on an island hoping to make tackles, and in some cases they did, in some cases they did not. Right there, the Nighthawks did make the tackle necessary to bring up a 4th down, and on 4th and about 18, the Warriors will go for it.
Yeah, officially it looks like 20. Well, yeah, 18. You're right. 4th and 18, and Cav Johnson was the receiver on the last play, the tight end, just like you mentioned, Joe. And really the Warriors with that one big play on this drive, the 30-plus yard reception for Wise. See if maybe they go back to that. Instead, they work it on the ground. It's just nothing there. And at midfield, they go backwards as Lily Anderson was taken down, and now she is slow getting up or working her way to the sideline. And it'll be 1st down the other way.
That's a tough break for Tri-State. Not only did they lose what looks to be about 4 or 5 yards on the play, but they lose yet another player to injury with what looks like a potential ankle injury. And that puts them in a really tough spot, not only on offense, but on defense as well, as Anderson does play some safety for them.
That's right. Really effective in that regard. She has 6 pass defenses this season. But that was a loss of 7 yards on a 4th down and 18. And it's been hard, but as difficult it's been, you really have to tip your cap to the Nighthawks and their ability to get to the football, really stay disciplined, and really not giving up that edge on these running plays, and just hasn't been a lot of time for Williams to survey via the pass. So really, with the exception of that one play, Joe, they have been perfect here in this half.
Well, it's been impressive how they've been able to set the edge defensively despite all of the pressure they're bringing toward the quarterback. And I like the idea of the moving pocket that we saw on 4th down earlier. It gives you a chance at the very least to buy your quarterback some time to survey. You like the quarterback, Williams, to get some time to do that in the pocket. But the next best thing would be on the move. And the time on that rollout play was there. However, it appeared to be a design run. They haven't gone back to it since.
Timeout is being called here by the Warriors.
And they're now out of timeout. So if Baltimore picks up a first down on this drive, it's unlikely that Tri-State would get another drive with any significant amount of time on the clock here in the first half.
Yep. And for the Warriors, I mean, obviously they're on the wrong end of the scoreboard, but they also have to prove that they could stop this Nighthawks offense. Now, Nighthawks 3 for 3 right now on their drives. A couple of drives ending with touchdowns via the run game. Pellegrini had a 5-yard touchdown run in the first quarter. And then a 28-yard pass from Vitak to Tanya Bates made it 14-0 in this quarter. And then the 29-yard run by Vitak herself made it 21-0. And those drives, last 2 drives, happened on short fields, if you will. And now the Nighthawks starting from the 50. But if the Warriors can get a stop here, perhaps 3 and out, maybe they can get the ball back with decent field position as well. But let's see. Nighthawks 3 for 3 so far on their drives, looking for a 4th score. Vitak will work from under center. Some movement at the line of scrimmage. No whistles there, as looks like Minor pounds it ahead for about 3.
Well, if you're the Tri-State defense, as I've mentioned already, you have to have a 3 and out here, and then you're going to need at least one more of those explosive plays to give yourself a chance to score. You certainly can't afford to give up any points here. But we've seen some explosiveness from the Tri-State offense the last couple of possessions. That nice pass to set up a 4th and manageable 2 drives ago, and then that big pass over the top. However, we've seen consistency from the start of this game from the Baltimore offense. It hasn't let up.
Right. We thought they would pound it and pound it and pound it. In fact, they've really thrown the ball a great deal here in this first half, and here's another. And that one is incomplete. Unable to stay with it and bring it in was Minor, who was working as the wideout that time, and that'll be incomplete. She was right at the sticks. That probably could have moved the chains. Instead, it'll be 3rd down and 7.
There's a break for Tri-State. That will stop the clock.
But a quick reset here. They look on that side again, and that one is intercepted. It was thrown into coverage, and a great job with the reception on the play.
I believe that was L.J. Fisher, Dave.
And it is, indeed, a turnover. So the Tri-State Warriors forcing their 7th turnover of the season.
Well, that was an unnecessary risk there taken by Vitak in that spot. Team leading by 3 scores. And worst case scenario, you expected that the Nighthawks would punt it away, pin the Warriors back deep in their own territory. But now Tri-State will have a chance from their own 40, and they need points in a big way. If they score here, that completely changes this game.
Right. Changes the complexion of the game for sure.
Nighthawks would still firmly be in control, but at the very least, Tri-State could come out in the second half and put some pressure on with a 2nd touchdown. But before they have the chance to do that, they have to score here.
So starting field position, their own 40-yard line. Johnson now moves over and stays wide here on the near side. Williams buying some of her own time, steps up in the pocket, gains the line of scrimmage, but that's all. So avoids the sack, but no gain on the play, and the clock moves.
On plays like that, where Williams has had time, defensive secondary for Baltimore is held up in coverage and really not giving her anywhere to go with the football. And we've seen the Warriors lose some playmakers in this game as well. You have to wonder if that impacts that situation as well, with the receivers for Tri-State being unable to get open on snaps like that last one.
In case you joined us late, too, early injury to Monet Clancy, a running back. She's still getting attended to in the trainer's tent, and Lily Anderson went off on the last drive. She, too, is receiving medical attention, so Warriors without two of their playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. 2nd down and 10, 1:40 and change remaining. Long snap count here for Williams. She's under pressure, looks sideline, right side, making the catch for the first down inside of Nighthawks territory. That was Muccio. I believe that was Muccio on the reception, Joe. I'm not sure.
I think it was Britt, Dave.
Oh, it was Britt. Okay. Indeed, yep. Muccio was lined up on the left side, but...
And I said it earlier, Dave, at some point, the Tri-State receivers would have to win one-on-one, and that should, in turn, give Williams some more time to throw the football if the Nighthawks know they can't bring such heavy pressure. And on that play, I thought there was pass interference as well, Dave.
Yeah.
No question, though. Perhaps because Britt had to come back to the football, the defensive back was given the leeway to make contact in that spot.
Time is of the essence here, though, as we are officially under a minute to go. Middle of the field, and that one is incomplete. Perhaps thrown a little bit behind that time for Britt.
Intended for Britt.
That does stop the clock. Sorry, Joe.
We saw Britt very involved in week 1, and now is getting very involved here, perhaps due in part to the injuries on this Warriors offense, but Williams has looked her way quite a bit.
Yeah, so without the ability to stop the clock, the Warriors have to be conscious here if they want to go the distance to make sure they build in some plays on the sideline or have to hurry back up to the line of scrimmage. 4 wide receivers. Williams takes the low snap, but she does have some time. Able to survey the field. Now drops it off short and incomplete. Looks like Britt might have just tapped that one down, Joe, understanding that she was behind the line of scrimmage, and that play would have resulted in nothing.
Well, Netta Wise and Jasmine Ward were having some words near the bottom of the screen, and I was taking a look down there pre-snap. There was no safety help in that half of the field, and it looked like they were putting Ward one-on-one with Wise, and she didn't have any backup on that play. So if the Warriors need a chunk like they do here on 3rd down, perhaps they go to the one-on-one matchup. Now Britt will be lined up against Ward on this next snap, and it appears once again there's no safety help down there.
Right. Yeah, especially when the Nighthawks bring pressure, they really haven't dropped any safeties back deep at all, and they still continue to operate out of the press coverage. So Williams might have to just close her eyes and put one up there and hope her receiver can come down with it one-on-one. Williams identifies, now looks towards middle of the field, and that one is intercepted. Hung up there way too long, and it was Brewer with the interception and plenty of room ahead. Can someone catch up to her? And she is brought out at about the 22, 23-yard line with the clock reading 26 seconds. And that time, Williams, I thought, wanted to get it towards the sideline, Joe, and it just got hung up in the middle of the field.
Well, Dave, it's clear that the Tri-State play callers saw the exact same thing we did up here in the booth. They saw the one-on-one coverage on the near sideline without safety help. They did have safety help on that play. And Brianna Brewer, pre-snap, signaled to her cornerback, Ward. I'm not sure what that signal was meant to identify, but perhaps she was letting her know you may have some help to the inside, take away the outside. I don't think the safety help really mattered much on that play because of how underthrown that ball was. Perhaps Williams thought her receiver, Britt, was going to cut toward the middle of the field. That didn't happen. Interception, Baltimore. They take over here deep in Tri-State territory.
And unlike the Warriors, they have all of their timeouts remaining, so they can be selective here. And the give is underneath to Minor. Minor skips away from one tackler and works it inside the 15-yard line. That should be enough for a first down, and a timeout promptly called by the Nighthawks.
That should also be enough to set up a field goal if the Nighthawks choose to kick one. They have 3 timeouts, so that attempt would not come here. But a nice chunk on the first play of the drive, picked up on the ground by Miner. And that will set them up with a 2nd and 1.
Yeah, gutsy play call too in that instance, understanding you have just over 20 seconds to go, 25 seconds to go. You know you're going to have to call a timeout either way after that play, trusting that your line can set up Miner to get past the sticks, and she does. And I think you're right, Joe. I think the game plan is let's make sure we're in field position for a field goal attempt. But now that they're at the 12, they can take a couple of shots here in the end zone. Can even afford to run the ball again here with 2 timeouts left.
On 2nd and 1, as I said before, 2nd and short, playbook is open. They can call anything they want here. They might just choose to put it on the ground and lock up another 1st down. That would force them to burn their 2nd timeout. Baltimore could also choose to take a shot for the end zone. And I think whether or not they take a shot comes down to how confident they are in their kicking game.
I remember the last drive for the Nighthawks ended in an interception in the middle of the field. Wonder if that plays a factor in some of the play selection here inside the 15-yard line. Pellegrini is the wideout in motion. The give is underneath to Miner. She's locked up, gets to about the 10 before she is stood up. And I believe the Nighthawks are going to call their 2nd timeout, and they do.
And that was good discipline there defensively by Tri-State not to bite on a fake of that sweep. You know that once Pellegrini was sent in motion, the Warriors defense has to be on high alert and make sure that they don't hand her the football. As we saw earlier on a very similar play, albeit an end around, Pellegrini scored a touchdown right there. They definitely could have handed the ball off to her, but the Tri-State defense did a good job to follow the football, stayed home on the defensive line, and were able to take the ball carrier down for a short gain. Is right here.
Yep.
Baltimore will kick.
Yeah, so on 2nd down with 9 seconds to go and a timeout in hand, they elect to kick the field goal now. Barring a bad snap or something to the effect, they can do it over again. Jessica Johnson lines it up, and it will be good enough. No, it will not. It went wide left, I believe, Joe. Had the distance, but it was no good, 28-yard attempt. And so with 3 seconds left, the Warriors will have one final play before we officially get into halftime.
Well, that field goal would have made it 24-0. That is still a 3-score game, albeit the Warriors would need 3 two-point conversions following touchdowns. And with 3 seconds to go here, we'll see if Tri-State chooses to run a play or if they just kneel it out.
Well, remember, Clancy still injured. Anderson, I don't believe, is back in. Nope, she's on the bench. Yes, still being tended to. And that's one of the noticeable differences, too, between the two teams, Joe, is, you know, the Warriors do have some depth on their bench. You see many players, you know, working their way on the sidelines now, but the Nighthawks have an absolute squad on their sideline. They have about 2 or 3 teams, or at least are two or three in the depth chart at each position. So it makes a difference in these type of games. And as the weather gets a lot warmer, it's comfortable today, even though temperatures will get up to about 80. They are playing under some overcast skies, but that plays a big factor as well, especially the later in the game we get.
No question about it. A lot of players over there on that sideline, as you mentioned, and now that depth of Tri-State that exists on their bench being chipped away by the injuries. And they have to be careful in a spot like this late in this first half. Don't try anything too crazy.
Right.
You're still fairly close to your own end zone.
Yeah, Brewer was able to run that last interception back almost 50 yards, maybe a little bit more. That would be devastating here, but there are 4 wide receivers set. Williams will take a knee out of the shotgun, and we will go into intermission. So it's been all Nighthawks. They score on all but one of their drives, 2 of their drives actually, And at the end of 30 minutes, it's a 21-0 lead for the Nighthawks. What we will do is we will step aside here from some of our sponsors, and when we come back, we will break down the first half, get you ready for half number 2 here from Memorial Stadium. Stay with us. It's 21-0 Nighthawks over the Warriors here, WFA football.
Ladies and gentlemen, halftime is
For serious athletes, getting hurt is not an if, it's a when. And when the pain hits your knees, your back, or any one of the many injuries common among athletes, KT Tape is there to help. KT Tape is a drug-free elastic sports tape that works when it's stretched and applied to the skin using simple techniques. So don't ignore those nagging sports injuries any longer. Find drug-free pain relief with KT Tape so you can train longer and finish stronger.
I have a secret. I'm done settling. Because this is my secret. No, really. I put it on once. No more touch-ups because this stick actually works.
Secret has pH balancing minerals, and it helps eliminate odor instead of just masking it. So no more T-Rex waves or covering up stinky pits when you're not cold. Pull it in close. Just trust me, Secret works.
The football used by 70% of high schools and more NCAA programs than any other is also the #1 selling football in the U.S., the Wilson GST game ball. To ensure superior tack and pebble definition, Wilson sources only the finest leather, which is treated with a proprietary Wilson-developed tanning process. A small team of expert craftsmen then constructs each GST game ball right here in the USA.
One of the biggest obstacles for Dakota with football, I feel like, is all of the injuries. He wasn't comfortable in the equipment that he had. From the start of when he got the pads from Zenith, he was a complete different kid.
He's seeing his development now. He's getting to the age where he's seeing his development and he knows what he's going to do to achieve it.
I love being able to watch him do what he loves. Zenith gave me that.
We are back here halftime between the Baltimore Nighthawks and the Tri-State Warriors. Joe, very promising start to the game as far as, both teams really trying to impose their will, but it's been all Nighthawks, really their ability to go, to run the football and then, pass the ball, keep the Warriors on their toes, and then defensively they've been outstanding.
The Nighthawks have the one giveaway. That's about all that went wrong for them in that first half. You said it, dominant on both sides of the ball. The Warriors do have one of the game's biggest plays as Netta Wise made a grab over the top of the Baltimore defense. That set up Tri-State in Nighthawks territory. They couldn't make anything of that field position following the big play, and a big reason why is the pressure that the Nighthawks have put on Tri-State quarterback Sanae Williams. She hasn't had much time to throw the football, and that really hasn't changed since the start of this game. This Nighthawks defense has done a great job bringing pressure while at the same time holding up in coverage defensively. They've given up maybe 2 or 3 sizable completions in this game, and really nothing more. We haven't really spoken much about how good they've been against the run as well. They have shut down the running game of Tri-State, a Warriors team that came in averaging well over 100 yards per game on the ground.
Yeah, and that's just it too, Joe. Now down by 21. Going going to be really hard for the Warriors to try to impose the ground game or really try to ground and pound their way back into this game. Although we know that they won't abandon the run, it really makes them a lot more one-dimensional. And like you said, their ability to really put pressure on the quarterback, Sine Williams, really has led to some outstanding things defensively. But, Joe, on the flip side of it, the Warriors have to, they did get the interception and was able to stop that drive on the short field. Of course, the field goal missed right before the end of the first half. Those are two positives, but really they haven't shown that they can really stop this Nighthawks offense either. And with the Warriors, it all starts with their defense.
No question about it. 6 turnovers forced through the first 2 games. We've spoken about it several times already. Their defensive coordinator, L.B. Robinson, told them they need to be disciplined in their lanes. And early in this game, they lost containment on that end around. They were much better as the half moved on against the running game of Baltimore. So a lot of good things that they did later in that first half. Unfortunately, that wasn't enough as they ended up falling behind by 3 scores. Could have been worse. That field goal misses. Perhaps that gives the Warriors just a bit of momentum heading into halftime. They certainly need to come out in the third quarter and score on their opening drive, given how well the Nighthawks have possessed the football in this game. Their drives have been long in many cases, and they've really done a good job keeping possession away from Tri-State thus far.
Absolutely, and the Warriors would love to come back and come full circle and win this game, but Joe, they need to hang their hat on something positive here. Is there something you have seen or something that you haven't seen that you'd like to see the Warriors really enter into their bag of tricks and show us here in half number 2?
Well, with the blitz coming, the play action is almost entirely off the table. You can't take that chance, so that option is out. As I mentioned before, moving the pocket was something I liked. However, on that particular play, it looked like a design run. The receivers that were set out wide to the right in a trip set were mostly blocking. 2 out of the 3. 1 went down the field. If you're comfortable enough rolling your quarterback out toward the sideline, perhaps that's something they look to do a bit more, because the pass protection in the pocket has not been there in this game, and it looks like Tri-State hasn't had much of an answer. If there's one other thing they could try, perhaps they put 2 backs in the backfield, maybe a split shotgun set, perhaps some pistol looks with 2 backs alongside Sine Williams. That could give her some added blocking. It does take 1 wide receiver off the field, and with the injuries that Tri-State has had on the offensive side of the ball, perhaps taking a receiver off the field may not be as big of a loss as it would have been were it not for those injuries. Those just a couple of things they could try, but so far, not much has worked. Maybe one other thing to think about: give your receivers more chances one-on-one against the defensive backs, jump ball situations. It can't hurt at this point in the game, trailing by 3 scores. There's not much to be lost taking those kinds of chances.
Well, you see it on your scoreboard. The Warriors have a long way to go, but they do have an entire second half of football coming up. They trail the Baltimore Nighthawks 21-0. What we will do here on PDF Sports Network, step aside once more. When we come back, we'll get you closer to the second half kickoff. Once again, your halftime score: Baltimore Nighthawks 21 and the Tri-State Warriors 0. You're watching the WFA on PDF Sports Network. Welcome back here. We are getting ready for the start of the second half. As We are back here. Second half kickoff, we'll see the Tri-State Warriors receive the ball first. Line drive kick that skips in front at the 20-yard line. Taken now by Britt at the 30. The 40 makes another miss and getting close to midfield. Now, looked like Britt might have gotten her helmet kind of yanked, but perhaps inadvertent. There were no flags. But this is pretty good field position, and we see how dangerous Britt can be in the open field, Joe.
No question. She's made a couple of big plays in this game already. And Tri-State will need a lot more where that came from as they get good starting field position in this spot. And it just feels like they had to have that to get this drive started.
Right.
As they haven't moved the ball very much in this game, though. If you start close to midfield or perhaps beyond midfield, you're a big play away from the red zone. And that's what Tri-State needs right now. They need a big play to get themselves back in this game. And I'm sure a sustained drive with some consistency wouldn't hurt either, but it just feels like they're going to need one of those game-breaking plays to get back into this.
Yep, or at the very least being able to kind of move the line of scrimmage 5 and 6 yards at a time. That would help as well. They have started a couple of drives, victims of penalty too, which has really derailed their progress. Williams will operate out of the shotgun to start here, and the give is underneath. And that was Mendez with the carry. Now she's able to pull forward for about a gain of 1, but that's it.
Once again, it looked like initially there was a hole, and that hole was closed quickly by this Baltimore defense. They've been so good against the run today. And I said it before, in case you weren't with us during the intermission, Tri-State, a team that comes in averaging well over 100 yards per game on the ground, and their running attack has been shut down to this point.
Yeah, 100%. And the one thing, too, about the Nighthawks is I don't believe they have missed a single tackle in this game. They have been really good and really good about getting multiple hats to the ball as well. We've seen a lot of gang tackling once the running back gets to the line of scrimmage. A lot of disciplined play here for the Nighthawks, but the Warriors do go ahead a yard on first, and now they have a 2nd and 9 to work with. Williams again out of the shotgun. Muccio, the up back. The play action is broken up in the backfield and taken down for a loss of 8 was Williams. And we are going to see a 3rd and very long.
Well, there just wasn't time for a play action fake, Dave. And they do put 2 backs in the backfield, which is something I speculated they might try during the halftime break. And we'll see what happened on that play. And they sent 7, Dave.
Yep. Well, you know, the one thing is that the Nighthawks on that play, they sold out their entire middle of the field attacking Williams on that blitz. Now, that is something that the Warriors might want to look at here because that middle of the field was left completely exposed as both linebackers, or all 3 linebackers that were sitting behind the line of scrimmage, went in immediately on that. You wonder if the slant was in order there. Hindsight 2020, it's 3rd down and 14. We'll see what the Warriors come up with. Shotgun collected. The throw is to the sideline, and that one is broken up. Muccio had her hands on it, but too elevated for her, and it'll be 4th down.
There was a bit more time for Williams on that last play, and she gave Muccio a chance. As the Warriors receiver did get her hands on the football. Simple out route on that play.
But I'm sorry, Joe, go ahead.
It did hit her hands. Now, that would have set up a 4th and about 6. And they are going to punt here. I think they certainly would have gone for it if it was 4th and a bit more manageable, but not on 4th and long.
Yeah, that was the point I was going to make, was that that pass was still going to be well short of the 1st down. But with half of the distance gone, you'd think they would have went for it at about the 50-yard line. Now they instead choose to punt. High snap. It is fielded clean, and it's line drive over the head of Brewer. Now she has to retreat all the way back inside of her 5. She scoops it up at the 4 and now races to the right side, is able to make one defender miss. Now reverses field, middle of the field, bottled up at just outside the 15 and taken down there.
Rare missed tackle from Melissa Blaze there near the goal line. And that's a tackle that Tri-State really would have liked to have. It would have set up Baltimore on the doorstep of their own end zone. And with one botched snap or loss on a play. Tri-State could have found themselves on the scoreboard for the first time instead. The Nighthawks will get started from about 16-yard line.
That was one of the best punts we've seen from Britt this entire season, too. That was a line drive over the head of Brewer that traveled about 35 yards in the air before it came down. Nighthawks will have it 1st and 10. Right at their 15-yard line, perhaps just outside of it. Vitak will operate under center in the I formation. The give is underneath and nothing doing that time for Minor. He's got a healthy load of the carries. We saw a little bit.
With a 3-score lead and the clock running, Tri-State cannot afford to let Baltimore run the football, and they do what they have to do on 1st down here in the Nighthawks' first drive of the second half.
So it'll be 2nd down and 12 here. As taken down for a loss was Minor, and she gets the handoff again, but now whistles will disrupt that play, and it looks like it's going up against the Nighthawks.
And Baltimore's done a good job avoiding the penalties on the offensive side of the ball in this game. Just the one penalty on defense. Not sure if that officially went down as a holding or a pass interference on the defensive side, but we've seen a couple of pre-snap penalties by Tri-State when they've had possession. If I'm not mistaken, that's the first by Baltimore.
Golden opportunity here for the Warriors, down by 21, and their defense looking to take a stand here, get the ball back to their offense with still plenty of time to go in this one. Nighthawks once again operate out of the I formation. Warriors cheat at the line of scrimmage here. The give is underneath to Minor. Minor sees the hole, goes down after getting tripped up at about the 10, falls at about the 13-yard line.
Blaze tripped Minor up on that play, and if she didn't, Minor might still be going. There was a lot of running room toward that far sideline, and Blaze just got a hand on the cleat of Minor there to slow her down and trip her up. 3rd and 12.
Yeah, it's been a lot of feast or famine for Minor here in this one. Either she's taken down in the backfield or is able to break a couple out. Now we do have a whistle here. Looks like an official timeout. And now they will replay it.
Dave, there was a drone over the field. That was the reason for the stoppage.
Yeah, I guess it can't be in certain areas of play. And now it looks like the Warriors may have gone offside. And walking back to her huddle was Stuart Wallace, lining up as the linebacker here. Has played a little bit of the offensive and defensive lines as well. But now a little bit more manageable here. 3rd and 12 becomes 3rd and 7.
That's a penalty Tri-State really would have liked to avoid.
So 3rd down and long still for the Nighthawks. Still a big play here coming up. They will indeed run the ball with Minor. Minor looks to string it out left side, but she is met by a host of Warriors and taken down, perhaps for a short loss. Looks like the original line of scrimmage. It'll be 4th down and 10.
And that group of Warriors that took her down was led by Quay Dorsey, once again making an impact on that defensive line. You mentioned the tackle numbers earlier. I've referenced the sack numbers, and we'll see if that officially went down as a tackle for a loss.
I think
it did.
Yeah,
it did. A loss of 2 on the play. There's another for her.
Yeah, 3/4 of her tackles have been for losses, Quay Dorsey. And that's one thing she told us before the first game, is that she wants to stay more disciplined to her position and really play the outside a lot better this year than last year. Well, she's been doing a fine job so far. As we have another late whistle here. Looks like an official timeout, or was that a Baltimore?
Timeout, Baltimore.
Took the timeout.
Timeout, Baltimore. That is their first timeout. They have 2 timeouts remaining.
The showman here can make an announcement for you.
What's up?
So they will get to talk it over a little bit, Joe, here on 4th and 9. And you wonder the timeout, Joe, could it be for going for it in this situation? Or is just a lineup discrepancy?
I would be shocked if they went for it here.
So would I. Given
There's
how,
no need.
Right, given how well their defense has played. But it looks like they are fixing to punt here, and maybe that was just a substitutional timeout, not to pin them back even further. Now remember, the last time the Nighthawks punted, it went about 50 to 60 yards because it was a line drive boot. That one is skied up in the air, not getting all of it and off the side of the foot. It is downed at the 40-yard line, so the Warriors will easily get their best starting field position of the game. Down by 21, could be just what the doctor ordered.
And they need points. They need them quickly with 9:20 to go here in the third quarter. You said it, Dave, their best starting field position of the day, and I'm not sure that they'll stay in this game much longer if they don't score on this drive. The negative plays have just killed them, as have the pre-snap penalties.
Right. Remember that first drive of this half, they were able to get a couple of yards via the ground, but then, of course, the big sack on the read play, the read option, that was sacked in the backfield. That was a huge loss, and really trying to climb out of those holes has not been this Warriors team forte. They start with 4 wide receivers here. From the left hash, 9:20 officially left here in the third quarter. A game in which the Warriors trying to claw their way back into. Quick read on the left side, but Williams is going to get tackled for a loss. Another big sack. That'll go officially for a 6-yard loss, and it'll be second and long.
Tri-State has had no answer for the blitz of the Nighthawks in this game. You'll see it here again on replay. This time they sent 6, 4 off of the defensive line, 2 from the linebacker spots, and the Warriors simply have not been able to pick that blitz up, whether they've had 1 back in the backfield or 2. Nothing has seemed to work, and when Williams has gotten time, she's made the most of it. There have not been many instances where she's had time in this game.
Yeah, and on that last play, I was squarely watching the wide receivers, seeing if anybody can get any sort of separation, and they really could not. I mean, there's really nothing that Williams can do in that situation, perhaps throwing it away if she can get that ball over to the sideline in the direction of somebody, but it's really just not enough time between the Nighthawks blitzing through the middle and no separation at the line of scrimmage. You see the press coverage on your screen. Nighthawks just not allowing any room here for the Warriors to operate. Second down and 16. Once again, they bring pressure. They go sideline, and that is incomplete. Couple of receivers in the area, but no one really close.
Looked like perhaps a bit of a miscommunication there between Williams and her receiver, as there is a Warriors player down, and yet another Tri-State player on the offensive side of the ball. Looks like she'll be headed to the sideline with an injury. That might be Netta Wise who was down.
And the Warriors have used their first timeout, 2 in this half. And it is Wise who was shaken up. And now she is going to have some medical attention. They've reversed the call to being an official timeout, so the Warriors will get that timeout back. Why don't we throw it to a quick break while we have the opportunity? When we come back, more Tri-State Warriors football here on PDF Sports Network.
I was all for it from the beginning, secretly.
I told her that, if you joined, you're in it. She's fast for her age, and I said, look, if they can't catch you, then they can't tackle you.
We, believe it or not, found an extra small pair of Zenith pads, and I was like, hey, we're going to get these.
Zenith just fits better. They love it.
Touchdown, come on!
Welcome back here, Memorial Stadium, New Brunswick, New Jersey, home field of the Tri-State Warriors, who are down 21-0 against the Baltimore Nighthawks. Very difficult treading for the Warriors all afternoon and evening here. And now they find themselves in a hole, 3rd and 16. And Netta Wise, one of their best players, out with an injury as well following that official timeout. Rolling to her right is Williams, but there is not much happening, and she is going to get tossed for a loss. About a 5-yard loss on the play, 2 sacks on this drive for the Nighthawks, and it'll be a 4th down and very long.
And I'm not sure there's anything Tri-State is going to be able to do offensively, as on that play, it was a rush of just 4. And Tri-State had 6 blocking, and that still was not enough to protect their quarterback.
Yeah, there's just not enough separation between the receivers and the defensive backs, and by the time Williams can make a read, she's got defenders on top of her. This outstanding effort so far by the Nighthawks defensively has really been the difference. And we are going to see a punt here for the Warriors. Really no choice here on 4th and 22 officially. The Warriors squander excellent starting field position on that last possession. Britt got off a really good punt her last time out. She'll have time to lay into this one. That one is skied up in the air. It does take a good Warriors bounce. It is collected by Brewer at about the 25-yard line, and she is not able to get anywhere with it. Nice open field tackle that time by Taylor. And so the Nighthawks will take over at their own 28-yard line here to start their second possession of the second half.
I think the question becomes now, Dave, does this Tri-State defense have another big play in them? Because it appears that it's going to take perhaps a score on defense or a turnover that sets this offense up deep in Nighthawks territory to get the Warriors on the board. I think right now, if you're Tri-State, you need to do everything you can to try and generate a takeaway here and get the football back, perhaps inside the 20-yard line.
Yeah, I agree, Joe. I know a lot of the players on offense also play defense, but as a defender, your mentality has to be our offense really needs us to take over this game or make a play or even get in the end zone ourselves. And they have been doing a great job of bottling up the run at the line of scrimmage. Another tackle for a loss, nowhere to go for Minor. And you could see the penetration here by the Warriors at the line of scrimmage.
And another question would be whether or not 3 straight plays like that is enough. If they generate 3 tackles for a loss on consecutive running plays like we just saw, is that enough to jumpstart this offense?
Well, the Nighthawks defense will have a lot to say about that as a quarterback sneak right up the middle, and Vitak gets back to the line of scrimmage and perhaps then some. Gain of about 5 on the play will set up a 3rd and about 8 on this one.
3rd and 8.
And, you know, obviously the clock very much in favor of the Nighthawks, but they kind of hurried up with that play too, Joe, and right up to the line of scrimmage and right behind center, getting that hard 5 or 6 yards.
Well, I think it goes without saying here, the Tri-State defense has to get off the field in this spot one way or another.
So 3rd down and 8 officially here. 3 wide receivers on the far side of the field. They really haven't looked for anyone but Pellegrini in the air tonight. But Vitak will go back to pass in the flat, and that was a dangerous throw. It was intended for Pellegrini, broken up by Blaze, and it'll be 4th down.
Dave, that was the opportunity that this Warriors defense needed. I don't know if Blaze was yet facing the football, but if she was, there was certainly an opportunity for a pick 6, and she saw it. I think it was out of her reach. The throw was definitely behind Blaze, certainly behind the intended target, but that was awfully close to a catastrophe for the Nighthawks.
Sky-high punt lands at the 45. Warriors need to get out of the way of that. They do. The ball is down at the 41-yard line by Jasmine Ward, and the Warriors will take over.
Well, the good news for the Tri-State offense is that they get the football right back. And just when you think that time has potentially run out on the Warriors, their defense has come up with a very quick stop, and that has kept Tri-State in this game for now. but I'm not sure their offense can afford any more empty possessions. And to be fair, I've said that already. And
right.
They've gotten it back here with just inside of 5 minutes to play in the third. Still time left in this one.
Well, really, aside from one big passing play in this game, the Warriors really haven't done really anything positive to really hang their hats on. And, you know, the Nighthawks, obviously, they want to do better offensively in this half, but they'll take this all day, trading the ball back and forth with a 21-point lead and the way their defense is playing. This does not hurt them in the least. The Warriors have to prove that they can move the ball forward. And it really wasn't until the middle of the third quarter against the Wolves where we started to see some signs of life as well. So not out of the woods yet are the Nighthawks. Williams, back to pass, looks middle of the field, and that one is incomplete. I believe that was intended for Johnson. And that's the area of the field, Joe, where we've mentioned a couple of times there is some room in the middle of the field. We've seen a lot of safety help in the corners, but they've left the middle of the field open, and that time that was a little bit too overthrown for Johnson and behind her.
Easier said than done in a collapsing pocket, but those are the looks that the Warriors have been trying to find all game, and that's a pass that needed to be completed. Now, Rolanda Davis, the defensive tackle for the Nighthawks, dropped off into coverage on that play. At least she was listed as a DT on the roster, and Williams had to clear her with the football. That certainly impacted that last play.
Now the Nighthawks with two safeties deep. Understanding the Warriors need to throw the ball. They do only rush 4. They look in the corner, and that play might have been there for Britt. Might have gotten a late look at it, Joe, but that ball was placed in a pretty good position for her.
That ball was there and came down to the turf in a spot where only Britt can catch it. She was left all alone. That's a great read by Williams, and there's no question that play was there.
Unless she heard the footsteps of the safety approaching and shied away from it, but that was a good ball there for Williams, and just a missed opportunity for the Warriors. It'll be 3rd down and 10.
Now, is this 4-down territory? You think they would go for it here on a 4th and 10?
Well, I think with the way your defense has played the first couple of drives in this, and the Nighthawks unable to move the football, I certainly would. At this point, down by 3 scores, you need to show something offensively. But this 3rd down will have a lot to do with it. We'll see what kind of pressure the Nighthawks bring, although they only rushed 4 the last couple of plays. Now they bring in an extra linebacker, and there's the quick toss, and right up the middle making the play. I believe that was Muccio on the catch. She is inside of Nighthawks territory at the 42-yard line.
Well, the pass blocking has been much better on this drive, and 2 out of the 3 passes by Williams have been right on target. Once again, had to clear a defensive lineman with this throw. And there you'll see that pass barely over the outstretched arm of Ashley Branch. And that was enough to pick up the 1st down by a wide margin as the Warriors move into Baltimore territory.
So Muccio, who came into the game with 4 receptions for 14 yards, matches that with that catch. 5 receptions now for 28 for her on the season. They needed that one. And, Joe, again, it was the middle of the field where that connection was made. And when the Nighthawks are blitzing those linebackers, that middle of the field has been exposed. We've mentioned it many times. See if the Warriors could take advantage of it. But, of course, they need to protect Williams, too, in the process. Now the linebackers stay home. They go towards the corner, and that one off the fingertips of Brewer. And Wise had to extend for it. Now, Wise left the field for a few plays with an injury. She's back. But a nice pass defense that time by Brewer.
That ball appeared to be on target. A very unorthodox route there. Looked like a zig and go as Wise broke toward the inside and then with a spin move took off up the sideline. Brewer got a great break on that ball as that pass appeared to be on target. If Brewer doesn't get there, I think Wise probably makes that catch.
So Williams showing with the time she's been able to put the ball in some pretty good places here these last couple of throws. Now they decide to run the ball. Looking left side, Mendez stretching to gain about the original line of scrimmage. It'll be 3rd down and 10. And that's been a tough go for Mendez trying to get to the outside, Joe, all game long.
they haven't been able to run that play successfully yet in this game where they've handed off laterally out of the gun. It just hasn't been there. And on that last rushing attempt, Aaliyah Stewart was the first to get hands on Mendez once she took possession of the football on that carry. Nothing gained on that play, and 3rd and long once again for this Warriors offense.
Another big play here as time continues to wind down. Approaching 2.5 minutes to go here in the 3rd quarter. Opportunities shrinking for the Warriors, who are down by 3 scores at the minimum. Williams, middle of the field. That one's incomplete. And that was dropped that time by Muccio.
Well, you have to think Muccio might have heard some footsteps on that play, as there was a nice pocket there for that pass to be completed. Also good protection once again by the Tri-State offensive line. We haven't seen as much pressure on this drive, though. They did send 5 on that play. And the Warriors have done a much better job in pass protection. So that's an encouraging sign. Question remains, is it too late? And I think if they don't get this first down, it just might be too late, as any possession here by the Nighthawks would likely take us to the 4th quarter.
Here's where I would expect to see a lot of pressure here for the Nighthawks. They've backed off these last few plays, have allowed Williams to get a little bit more comfortable back there, but they might bring the heat here. Safeties cheating up to about 7 yards away from the line of scrimmage. Certainly look like they'll be in press coverage. 4th down and 10. Warriors need all 10. They do not bring pressure. They go up the middle. Now Muccio makes the grab, but she's going to have to get further up the field. Now a flag does come out. That was after Muccio made the catch. Officially, the play went for 3 yards, Joe, so 7 yards away from the first, but this call is going to be big. And it is against the Nighthawks.
Was it a face mask?
Well, they're signaling first down, so whatever it was enough to move the sticks.
I think given where that flag was thrown, there had to be a face mask, and there it is.
Oh, there it is, yeah, the tug. Great second look at it. And so they will move the ball 15 yards, and the Warriors now will be at the 25-yard line. And I think this is the deepest that the Warriors have been down the field today. We do have an official timeout. It'll be called by the Nighthawks. So the Nighthawks ask for time. And while we do have the timeout, we will let you know that this timeout is brought to you by Christo's Pizza and Grill, located at 1052 Livingston Avenue in North Brunswick. Call your own timeout now and order now at 732-543-0891 or visit christospizzaandgrill.com. That's Christo's with a C. Delicious food and free delivery available now. So the Nighthawks using their second timeout of the half. The Warriors have all 3 remaining. 1:57 remaining, 3rd quarter. Warriors looking to scratch themselves back into this game. Farthest offensive possession they've had today. They'll set up 1st and 10 at the 25.
And if the Warriors score here, Dave, they certainly find themselves back in this game. Still a steep hill to climb, but they will be back in it with a chance. And given where they were just a few short minutes ago, that's about all you can ask for. The offense had really sputtered up until this point in the game, but they've completed a couple of big passes. They're helped along by that 4th down penalty, and perhaps with a couple more breaks, they can make this a one-possession game and give themselves a chance in the closing minutes. That being said, they have to get into the end zone here to make that a possibility, and will then need at least 2 more stops. But their defense has been very good today, especially since halftime. They've pitched a shutout here in the 3rd quarter, and the Nighthawks haven't done much offensively, so to get going again for them might be a bit tough. We'll see if Tri-State's offense can put some more pressure on Baltimore here.
Nighthawks with a touchdown in the 1st quarter, 2 more in the 2nd, but they've been pretty much held in check since. But right now it's the Warriors' turn offensively, and they need to prove that they can generate some scores. This one thrown towards the end zone, and that one's picked off by Brewer. Inside the 5-yard line, that time Williams led Wise. A little too long. Brewer was in perfect position and made the catch.
Another 2 deep safety look by the Nighthawks. And we've seen Williams throw into that a couple of times, got away with it earlier in the drive, did not get away with it here. As I was a bit surprised that Baltimore stopped bringing that pressure. It seems like that gave the Warriors a chance to move the ball up the field a bit. But on that particular play, two deep safeties paying off. And Williams throwing into coverage is intercepted. And with 1:48 to go in this third quarter, the Warriors will be looking for a big play from their defense as this ball is spotted at the 3.
Right. Remember, their ability to get in the backfield against the run can factor in here. They can certainly look for the safety here in this situation. Pellegrini in motion. Now she reverses the other side, and this is going to be Vitak herself. Plows forward for a gain of about 1 on the play, maybe that.
Dave, I wouldn't be shocked if they do that 3 times.
Yeah.
Second down, Baltimore.
I wouldn't be surprised. It doesn't mean I would. I think they'll probably run it again and then pass on 3rd down if they find themselves a safe distance from the end zone. But their defense has been so good in this game, there's really no reason to give Tri-State a chance to make a big play when you're in possession of the football.
Yeah, why take a chance when you don't have to, when your defense is playing well and you're up by 3 scores? Don't give your opponent an excuse that they need to get back into this game. This give is to Minor. Minor, now there is a flag down in the backfield. Minor was able to get to the edge and turn a negative into a positive. She's about a yard short of the first down, maybe 2. But this is in the vicinity of holding, and it is. It'll be half the distance.
And the Nighthawks, if that indeed was holding, are fortunate. The hold did not take place in the end zone, though. It would be tough for that to happen on a play like that. Nonetheless, Warriors sold out going after the quarterback on that play, and that gave Minor some room to run, but the penalty against Baltimore backs them up, and this snap will come from just outside of the 1-yard line.
And they will have to run a play before the end of this quarter as you see the clock winding down. And Vitak was really lucky to get that handoff off after watching that replay. That was not easy. I formation. Ball spotted right at the 1, as Joe mentioned. Vitak under center. And she is going to throw. That ball was batted at the line of scrimmage and incomplete.
And that was a very high-risk play in that spot, as that very easily could have been tipped into a pick 6. That ball hung up there for what seemed like an eternity, but there were no black jerseys in the area. As you see that pass tipped in the backfield, and on the way down, looks like Shanna Alexander was the nearest Warrior to it.
So 3rd down and 11, ball actually spotted at about the 2-yard line. Undoubtedly, if the Nighthawks run the football, that will be the end of the 3rd quarter as we have 12 seconds remaining in it. Minor is the running back. Pellegrini in motion, right to left. She's now matched up on the ball, goes to the right side and heading down the field, but just off the fingertips of the wide receiver. That could have been a huge play, as that pass was intended for Tanya Bates, who scored the touchdown through the air today. Instead, it'll be a 4th and 11, and the kick will come from the back of the end zone.
And that pass was right on target. However, Bates had to kind of contort her body backward just a bit and reach over her helmet to make that catch, and that was the difference that resulted in the incompletion.
Interesting play here. Warriors did bring pressure, but that's a great punt. Tried to field it on the fly, was wide. She does get out of it and is hit home at about the 32-yard line. That is the end of the 3rd quarter here from Memorial Stadium. 15 minutes for the Warriors to get themselves back into this one. They trail the Nighthawks by the same score they did at halftime. It's 21-0. We'll step aside, take a break. When we come back, the final 15.
I was all for it from the beginning, secretly.
I told her that, if you joined, you're in it. She's fast for her age, and I said, look, if they can't catch you, then they can't tackle you.
We, believe it or not, found an extra small pair of Zenith pads, and I was like, hey, we're going to get these.
Zenith just fits better. They love it.
Touchdown, come on!
Welcome back here. We are getting set for the fourth quarter between the Tri-State Warriors and the Baltimore Nighthawks, a pair of 1-1 teams. And right now the Nighthawks 15 minutes away from improving to 2-1 in the standings. We'll take a look at those standings at the end of the game as well and get you situated there and let you know what our next moves will be at PDF Sports Network. But still 15 minutes to go in this one, and the Warriors are again set up with great field position at the Nighthawks' 32-yard line following the 30-yard punt. The give underneath to Mendez, and she's wrapped up and nowhere to go. A loss of 5 on the play.
We've seen a lot of negative plays in the passing game, and right there a negative play on the ground as the Warriors offense moving in the wrong direction to start this drive, given their best starting field position of the game by far.
And that was a run, Joe, but still they were bringing pressure. The Nighthawks abandoned that right side and blitzed both the linebacker and the defensive end on that side, or the cornerback who was in that defensive end position or just shadowing the defensive end came in on that one as well. So the goal to put pressure on, and we'll see if the Warriors could take advantage and maybe catch somebody underneath. 2nd down and 15. Opening minute of the fourth quarter. Long count for Williams. Pressure on the blind side, and that one is well behind the intended receiver. And it'll be 3rd down and long.
This is undoubtedly 4-down territory for Tri-State in this spot. They'll have 2 shots at this. They need 15. And we've seen their most effective passing plays either one-on-one against the corner or getting the ball out quickly over the middle of the field. And even getting the ball out almost instantly on some plays has not been enough, as Williams, in some cases, has been forced to pull it down and take sacks. They cannot afford a sack here. Even if you have to throw it up into double coverage, that certainly beats a sack in this spot. And we'll see what Tri-State dials up here on 3rd and long.
So they'll need a big chunk of it here. And can't help but think back to what Sine Williams said during the pregame to you, Joe, and that is they needed their running game to really be effective in this one, kind of set themselves up for the pass, and just really hasn't worked out that way at all. As I would assume that the Warriors have negative yardage on the ground today. That pass thrown in some open space and incomplete. In the general area was number 12, Chastity Medina, who hasn't seen a lot of action, but she has her number called that time and did have a little bit of open space on that one.
You'll see it again here on the replay. Williams put that ball on a spot where only her receiver was going to be able to get it, leading her away from what would have been a big hit. Moving toward the middle of the field. You can't ask for much more from your quarterback as a receiver in that spot, protecting you with that throw. And the Warriors will need at least 15 to keep this drive alive. And it looks like they're going to punt it.
Yeah, they are going to punt, maybe looking to pin the Nighthawks back deep inside their own 10, 5-yard line, and again, have their defense make the play that they need. They've come close in that regard. Blaze almost had a interception that could have went the distance. We saw Antoinette Wise converge on a pass earlier in the game that she's able to hang on to. Perhaps she's able to go the other way, and almost a safety on that last possession. Britt lays into that one, and that's a good kick that ends up at about the 15-yard line, taking a bounce, but actually takes a Nighthawks bounce and will end at about the 18-yard line, and that's where the Nighthawks will take over.
Well, I'm sure that's not where Tri-State wanted to give Baltimore the football, but ahead of that 4th down, I hadn't considered the possibility that they might punt it. And I think ultimately, even though it didn't work out that well, it was still a wise decision. Give your defense a chance to make that big play that you're looking for, as you mentioned, Dave. And now with a drive that extends anywhere beyond 3 plays, you have to think that would take enough time off the clock where Tri-State in all likelihood would be out of this game trailing by 3 scores. They need either a turnover or a 3 and out.
Well, the Warriors will travel next week to a team that they faced already once this season, the New York Wolves. This time they'll return the favor and play in Long Island. Nighthawks will run it up the middle and nothing happening there. That will be a loss of about 2 or 3 on the play.
Looked like Miner might have been limping after the play, and she is limping her way over to the sideline.
She's certainly taken her fair share of hits in this game, and all things considered, the Warriors have done a nice job against the rushing attack for this Nighthawks team. Perhaps not as good earlier in the game on that first drive. The run game was really potent for the Nighthawks, but it has teamed off since. Second down and 12 coming up. But the Nighthawks almost exclusively with yardage on the ground in this half. I don't know if they've completed a pass in this second half yet, Joe. And this will be Vitak by herself. Once again on the option, she gains the edge and is pushed out of bounds. Close to the first down, maybe just short. See where they mark it officially. It does look like it will be short. It'll be a 3rd and 1.
That was a well-designed play to make this a 3rd short. Right there. Yep. Dorsey just got caught with her eyes on the running back. Really can't blame her with how often Baltimore has handed the ball off. That's a really tough play for a defensive end in that spot. And Vitak beat her to the edge, and 3rd short.
This will be a run by Miner, and she gets taken down at the 30, but more than enough for the first down and to move the sticks. Actually, that was not Miner on that run, Joe.
That was Aaliyah Stewart.
Yep. Miner had gone off to the bench, hobbling off a little bit, and she has not returned. Ball's officially spotted at the 29-yard line. New set of downs and a chance for the Nighthawks to salt away more of the clock here as we find ourselves inside of 12 minutes to go. Once again, I formation for the Nighthawks. Long count, and the give once again up the middle and churning in positive yardage again was Stewart, this time on the left side. She's able to scamper ahead for a gain of about 5 or 6. And perhaps more importantly, clock continues to run here for the Nighthawks.
They've done a good job controlling possession, and even when they've had to send the ball back to Tri-State, Tri-State typically hasn't had it very long. And the ball has been with Baltimore for much of this game.
Yeah, that's right. They've had the bulk of time of possession. They've only turned the ball over the one time. They've forced a couple of turnovers the other way, so they were on the plus side of that. We knew that was going to be a point of emphasis today. Shotgun formation. Vitak will give it underneath. Look at to strip the ball where the Warriors pickup of about 2 yards on the play for Avery Edelman.
And that looked like it may have been an option, Dave. Tough to tell, but looked like Vitak may have had the choice to keep that ball and follow her back out of the backfield.
But once again, sets up another 3rd and short. As once again, the Nighthawks look to move the sticks and keep the time on the clock moving. Vitak looks like we may have had a false start here as half the line moved. And they will back up the Nighthawks, make it a 3rd and 6.
5-yard penalty, remains 3rd down.
And I was about to say ahead of that snap that the Warriors be wise to be on the lookout for that quarterback keeper. And by how quickly the Nighthawks got to the line, I think they may have tipped it just a bit. And the offensive line a bit too eager as they are whistled for the false start. 3rd and 6.
Clock continues to move here at Memorial Stadium. 9.5 minutes to go and counting. Same formation here for the Nighthawks on this one. Vitak does look like she will pass, though. Looks to her right on the sideline in the direction of Pellegrini, and that's over her head and incomplete.
Not a bad attempt there on that throw. In a spot where only Pellegrini could get it, but out of her reach. And we are going to have a punt here by the Nighthawks.
That stops the clock with 9:12 remaining. But really, Pellegrini has been the receiver of choice for Vitak in this game. She's was very, very busy in the first quarter. Scored a touchdown via a 5-yard run to open up the scoring. And here we have a punt from Vitak. Ends up looking to get fielded now. I don't know if that was touched. If it was, that's Nighthawks football. And it will be Nighthawks football as it went right through the hands of the Warriors. And we'll get another look at it, maybe even in slow-mo if we can. Slow it down just a bit to see.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's check your 50-50 tickets. Here is your winning ticket number. 6.
Oh, yeah. Might have caught a little bit of the elbow coming down.
8, 1.
No question about it.
Taylor.
686.
Taylor definitely touched it. And for the offensive struggles that the Warriors have had in this game, they've been okay defensively, especially in the second half. They've been good. They haven't given up anything. That may be a product of the score entering the second half. But nonetheless, the defense has played pretty well in this quarter. The offense hasn't had it today, but it had been a relatively clean game for them, and that changes right there.
Vitak gets the edge and gets spilled out at about the 35-yard line, so she picks up a gain of about 7 or 8. She does go out of bounds, which stops the clock, but gets another healthy gain on that play. We mentioned how Vitak has been good on the ground as well in this multi-pronged rushing attack that the Nighthawks employ. These two teams will meet again on June 10th in Baltimore. First of 2 meetings that will end the season for both of these teams. So certainly things to learn about these two teams in this first meeting, as getting gobbled up and nowhere to go was Edelman. Another good defensive play by the Warriors. But information to be stored for sure for both of these teams. Hopefully the Warriors will come back a little bit healthier for that game, as they lost a couple of their premier players early in this one, including Mo Clancy, their starting running back. Lily Anderson was lost as well. Antoinette Wise had to come out of the game a couple of times due to injury.
Looking ahead for Tri-State, they've now lost 1 game to the Wolves and 1 game to the Nighthawks, 2 teams that they will face again later this season. And moving forward, it becomes an issue of adjustments for them. What has to change going into the second matchup with each of those 2 teams in order to pick up a win?
Yep, and the one thing that we learned in that first game against the Wolves is that they certainly shortened the gap between the 2 teams. I mean, that game was really anyone's game the entire way. That throw up the middle, and that is caught by Edelman. And inside, just inside the 25-yard line, or right at the 25, and that'll move the sticks.
That's as tight a window as Vitak has thrown into throughout this game. And you'll get a second look at that last pass right here. That had some zip on it as well.
Right.
And I'm not sure that until that reception, anybody other than Pellegrini had caught a pass. You mentioned it before.
Yeah, she's certainly been the target, but Edelman coming on and doing a good job here, especially getting time with Minor on the sideline. But going back to the original thought, Joe, you know, against that Wolves team, we had both remarked on how the Warriors had kind of closed the gap with the Wolves considerably after that first game. And the question coming into this one was, can they do the same against the Nighthawks? As that throw in stride and just off the fingertips, once again, of Tanya Bates, who has a score in this game. And after this game, Joe, I mean, there's still 6.5 minutes to go, but that is still a big question here, is whether the Warriors have done enough in the offseason to close the gap. And certainly on the field, the Nighthawks were in complete control early, and they've been on cruise control since.
We said it during the pregame. Two very different looking games between these two teams last year. Low scoring 13-0 shutout win for the Nighthawks in game number 1, and then a lopsided 45-6 win in game number 2. This game has fallen somewhere in between.
Right. Vitak out of the shotgun on 2nd and 10. She'll keep it herself the entire way. Middle of the field, makes one cut, two cuts inside the 5, and a score for Vitak. 25 yards, her second touchdown of the game, and it's now a 4-score game, 27-0.
And both of her touchdown runs have been very impressive. On the first run, we saw her breakaway speed on display. Here we saw her elusiveness on display, as you will get a chance to look at on this replay. Gets good blocking, cuts inside once, cuts inside twice, and that was enough as she outruns the Warriors secondary for her second rushing touchdown. That puts her team up by 27, chance to make it 28 here on the extra point.
Yeah, so Jessica Johnson looking to go 4 for 4 in the PAT department. She did miss a 28-yard field goal in this game. As the Nighthawks bring in some late substitutions. 6:06 remaining in this one. Snap is down. The hold is down, and the kick is no good. Wide right on that one. And so the score will remain 27-0. And right now, the only thing in question will be what the final score will be, Joe, it seems. But the Nighthawks seemingly on their way, rebounding off of the tough loss 2 weeks ago to the New York Wolves, 28-14. A great bounce-back effort. Their defense has been tremendous in this one. And, you know, you got to give it up for Lauren Vitak, Joe. We said that this team was going to run. She came out throwing in this game. Very effective. Pellegrini really opened things up. And then when they needed to run on the ground, she's put it in twice herself on big, long run scores and continues in that department. She now has at least 4 rushing touchdowns this season. And looks like she's offered the Nighthawks a path to victory here.
Well, Vitak's been very impressive carrying the football in this game. Officially, through one game, she had 6 carries for 48 yards with the 2 touchdowns. As you mentioned, she now has at least 4 touchdowns. Should they report stats for their second game, she may very well have more than just a couple of touchdowns. The Nighthawks scored twice in their Week 2 game against the Wolves. That is the game they're missing stats for. But nonetheless, Vitak has at the very least doubled her rushing yardage total here in today's game for the season. On her 2 touchdown runs alone, I believe she had surpassed 48 yards. So she's had a few more carries in this game as well. It has been a very impressive showing for her on the ground, and as you mentioned, has gotten it done through the air when given the opportunity as well.
Yeah, I would assume she is close to that 100-yard mark today. She's had multiple runs left and right on the edge that have gone for first downs. The official scores were a 29-yard touchdown run, and that last one good for 25 yards. First points of the second half for the Nighthawks on that touchdown makes it a 27-0 game. And like we've said before, for the Warriors, perhaps an opportunity here to hang their hat on something positive going into next week's game on the road against the New York Wolves in Long Island. And then after that will be their second bye of the season, and then they will finish up with their final 2 games, one here in New Brunswick, where we will be here for, and then, of course, they finish on the road against this Nighthawks team. Zanae Williams will operate with 4 wide receivers, 2 to her right and left. Johnson is the tight end in the right slot. She looks to the left now, middle of the field, and that one is caught in stride, and perhaps looking to go in for the races is Britt. She gets enough separation, and that's going to be a touchdown. 75 yards, and the shutout is eliminated.
Biggest play of the game for either team. Speaking of breakaway speed, how about Sienna Britt? We saw it in Week 1. We see it again here in Week 4 as Williams finds Britt over the middle. Williams under a bit of duress on that play, collapsing pocket, 3 defenders in front of her, And finally, Tri-State is able to take advantage of the openings over the middle, this time in a big way.
And the breakaway speed, she was matched up shoulder to shoulder that time with Rozier and then just blew away from her and was able to get it into the end zone for 6. And that's where we are now, 27-6 with 5:44 remaining. And Tri-State undoubtedly going for 2 here, I would think. I don't think they've attempted a single point after touchdown. They've gone for 2 on each occasion. Chance to draw a little bit closer.
Well, it has to feel good to finally connect on one of those big plays for a score and to break up that shutout. At this point, that seems to be not much more than a consolation, but nonetheless, you hate to see a 0 up on the scoreboard. And if there's anything they can take away from this game, it's all the reps they've gotten under duress passing the football. And you hate to see that on game day. Instead, you'd like to keep that in practice. But nonetheless, Williams has had to attempt a lot of passes under heavy pressure. And in many of those situations, she's been able to find open targets.
Yeah, I mean, we also kind of wondered where that play was, that quick slant there by Britt coming in from the extreme right side of the screen where she is now. That one straight up the middle, and getting in for the 2-point conversion successfully are the Warriors.
Conversion is successful.
Well, Dave,
didn't know who was going to take that rush attempt as they lined up.
I completely lost the ball. Even on the monitor, which is a better view than watching it down on the field.
It might have been Williams herself. No, she gave it to
Mendez.
Yeah.
Who was flanked by 2
Right,
backs.
right. She was the middle of the 3 running backs behind Williams.
You would typically call that a full house formation, but the 3 backs were so close
on a
together.
line. Yeah, they were shoulder to shoulder.
That you couldn't make out exactly what it was that Tri-State had come out in offensively.
Well, that's something that they'll like to see. And, you know, when you're down by a bunch, it's very easy to crawl into a hole and call it a night. But the Warriors stick with it. Obviously, wanting to break up the shutout, successful in that respect. And it's now 27-8 is our score. See what the Warriors do here on this kickoff. Never know. Might want to attempt an onside kick with the Nighthawks in their normal kickoff formation.
Please come up to the press box at this time. If you have lost your cell phone, please come up to the press box.
We'll see
at this time.
If the Warriors have some sort of onside kick play diagrammed here and what they'll look to do. There's no question that they'll try and get the ball back in this spot.
So we'll see if they decide to do that. They certainly don't look like they're lining up for an onside kick, but you never know here. Britt will be the one to tee it up. It is kicked down the field, and it's fielded at the 35-yard line, bringing it back up to midfield where the Nighthawks, Anna Vaccaro, did the honors fielding it, and it'll be just inside the 50-yard line on the Warriors side of the field. 5.5 minutes to go here in regulation time. Barring an extreme collapse here by the Nighthawks, they seemingly have this game in hand. Now the question is, which team goes into next week with a more positive plays under their belt here in these final 5 minutes? Sure, the Warriors would like to get a stop here. Keep the score at 27, and that run was right up the middle. Nothing happening that time for the Nighthawks. Look like Owensford got the carry, her first since the early part of the first quarter.
This may be an opportunity for some players that haven't gotten in much in this game to get some opportunity late. We saw some injuries impacting both teams throughout this one. Not too long ago, Bianca Miner, starting running back for Baltimore went down with an injury.
Yep. And don't know if it's a good sign or a bad sign, but Mo Clancy, who left the game early, has remained on the sidelines. I mean, obviously in street clothes now, but didn't have to leave the facility. Same thing with Anderson. Vitak will take it once again right side, looking for some room. Gets it to about the 45-yard line, but guilty of running out of bounds and stopping the clock there. It'll be 3rd down and about 5 after a gain of about 4.
That was a good job by Cav Johnson on that play. If she doesn't read that correctly, Vitak's headed up the field with plenty of room to run. Johnson, at the very least, forced her to the outside, gave her secondary a chance to rally and force Vitak out of bounds on that play. 3rd down and 5 to go in this spot as we approach 4 minutes to play.
So 4 and change remaining. Vitak will once again operate under center on 3rd down and 5. Warriors stack the line of scrimmage, and they are guilty of jumping off, and that might give the Nighthawks an automatic 1st down. If indeed they were not drawn off, which I don't believe they were. Offsides on the defense. And it is a 1st down.
3-5
Yep.
there, and an automatic 1st down with that 5 yards.
The Warriors, 5-yard penalty, 1st down, Baltimore.
Now, under 4 minutes to go here.
39.
Before we go off the air, we will let you know what our plans are for the next few weeks here on PDF Sports Network. We will be back here at Memorial Stadium a little later on, or early on in June, I should say. Meanwhile, up the middle and still making Warriors miss, and enough for another 1st down for the Nighthawks.
That was Stewart.
Yep.
On that carry, another high-effort play.
They'll move the sticks once again. Get another look at it.
Love to see a run like that late in the game that has already been decided in your favor, and that's a good carry there by Stewart, working her way into the 2nd level and picking up the 1st down.
Yeah, she made about 3 moves and then was able to carry the final defenders a couple of yards. 1st down and 10 at the 29-yard line of the Warriors. Pellegrini in motion. Once again, under center. The give is up the middle once again. Now flags are down. Grinding once again. I believe that was Stewart on the run again.
Flag on the play.
This one might be coming back here with 2.5 minutes to go. And indeed, it will be against the Nighthawks via the hold.
Spotted here on this replay.
I couldn't pick it up there.
No. That'll set up a 1st and 20.
Yeah, but at this point, the clock's still moving here. The Warriors have all 3 of their timeouts left, but it does not appear like they will be calling them. At least they'll use maybe the 2-minute warning. Well, I just jinxed it, Joe, and maybe we'll see our first one here, although the clock was stopped. It is actually a timeout called by the Nighthawks, I believe. Nope, it was called by the Warriors. So the Warriors used their first timeout. This will give us a chance to see what's upcoming for us here on the PDF Sports Network. Next week, we will be back covering arena football in the AAL2, as we will have the Bearcats taking on the Maryland Eagles. We will be on the air at 6 p.m. for that game. Kickoff at 6:30 on May 20th. And then on June 3rd, we will have 2 games going on at the same time. Tri-State Warriors against the New York Knockout, and the Bearcats will take on the United Firepower. So June 3rd, we have 2 games going on. Joe, you will be with the crew covering our arena game against the United Firepower, who, by the way, the Bearcats are playing tonight at 7 o'clock in North Carolina. So those 2 teams playing tonight, we'll see a repeat of that on June 3rd. And I will be with a crew here to cover the Warriors' final home game of the season against the New York Knockout, a team that they had a lot of success against last year.
A lot to look forward to. Looking ahead here on the PDF Sports Network in the American Arena League, the Bearcats picking up the victory in the last game of theirs that we covered. That game took place just about a week ago now, maybe 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago,
Two
right?
weeks ago. Time flies. Cover so many games these days that I lose track, but nonetheless, a lot to look forward to here on the PDF Sports Network. And should the Warriors and or the Bearcats participate in the playoffs, we hope to bring you those games as well.
Absolutely, we will. And talks going on now about PDF Sports Network covering the AAL2 championship no matter where it gets played. So stay tuned for more on that. We may be taking our show on the road if, in fact, the Bearcats do not have a home game. And there's a pass that is completed near the first down marker, just short there. Was Tanya Bates making the catch with under 2 minutes to play. That'll be, I believe, the 2-minute warning. The Jersey Bearcats last week, Joe, defeated the Maryland Eagles 48-8 on the road. That's the same Maryland Eagles team that we'll see next week on PDF Sports Network, returning the favor and coming to Jersey to play the Jersey Bearcats in Roselle, New Jersey. Waranenko Sports Center is where the Bearcats play their games, and really honored as a network, PDF Sportsnet being the official carrier of the Jersey Bearcats in the inaugural season of the AAL2, the American Arena League, a real top arena league in the country when they had the first, I guess, boot up of their league in 2018. Of course, a little bit of a stoppage due to COVID, but lots of fans enjoying this one, Joe, including those of the four-legged variety.
Canine spectators just outside of the fenced-in area around the track, and we'd like to get a look at some of our notable spectators once in a while, as you saw during the EFA season, if you've been with us since the beginning.
Yep. That's part of, it's probably like a Toucan's trademark. You know,
I think it is.
Pat Gialorenzo always focusing on those four-legged friends, which we love. See more of that as the season goes on as well. I'm sure as the weather gets nicer and nicer, of course, that's a trademark of some of these games. Want to throw a shout out also to Louis Matrone, our engineer, who's done an outstanding job here today. And PDF Sportsnet does not work without our crew here helping us out. Pellegrini with the catch on one knee is able to get up and make a couple of defenders miss inside the 15. Now the clock will stay moving here. Ball will be inside of the 15-yard line with 1:20 to go and more. Now, see if the Nighthawks look to punch one in here in the dying moments of this game. The game well in hand, 27-8. And it's Vitak who will take it herself. This time left side. She makes one defender miss, a second, and is taken down hard at about the 6-yard line. She got walloped right on her back, but gets up promptly, close to another first down. Be second and just short as we count down the final 40 seconds, and the Nighthawks looking to go quickly, maybe looking to add a punctuation mark on this game. I formation. The give is to Edelman. Edelman does have enough for the first down, but will be short of the goal line by about 3 or 4 yards. We are under 20 seconds to go, and that could do it here, but the Nighthawks are itching up to that line. They want to run another play, and they want to get in that end zone. Under 10 seconds to play. They will get another play off here. It'll be Vitak right under center. The pile moving. Is it enough to get in? It is. It's a touchdown. On the final play of the game, we will see 6 points put on the board and an extra touchdown for emphasis. Vitak scores the hat trick as she gets another rushing touchdown, this time from 4 yards out. And our final score will be 33-8. But they will line up for the extra point.
I'm a bit surprised that they're taking the extra point here. Typically in these spots, you don't see
maybe
that.
not. Yeah,
and
now
they
they're
won't.
calling. Yep.
They won't.
They will not. So our final score will be 33-8 in favor of the Nighthawks. A game in which they took control very early, really got off to a huge start, and from there they were able to weather a small storm towards the end, add a couple of touchdowns in the fourth, and there's your final score, 33-8. Joe, a complete win for the Nighthawks.
No question about it, Dave. They did a great job on both sides of the ball for all 4 quarters in this game. Offensively, they marched straight down the field and scored a touchdown on their first drive. That really set the tone the rest of the way in this game, and the Warriors simply had no answer, specifically on the offensive side of the ball, where the Nighthawks created havoc in the tri-state backfield with their blitz packages. The Warriors just didn't have an answer. They seemed to adjust as the game went along. Things got better for them in the passing game late, but that wasn't enough.
All right, so that will be all for us here. We remind you, coming up next week here on PDF Sports Network, we will have the Jersey Bearcats taking on the Maryland Eagles Arena Football on Saturday, May 20th. 6:30 p.m. kickoff will be on the air at 6 o'clock with the Brownstone pregame show. And then 3 weeks from tonight, we will have a split staff, Tri-State Warriors in their final home game of the season against the New York Knockout. That kickoff right now tentatively scheduled for 5 o'clock. They could move that to 4 o'clock. Check, of course, our website for that. Jersey Bearcats will also be on hand in the arena against the United Firepower. We'll have a crew for that game again. First ever time we will have 2 games going on at the exact same time. And, of course, we finish our season officially on June 10th. Against the Eastern Shore Rage. The Jersey Bearcats will play their final home regular season game. And then, if there is home playoff football for the Jersey Bearcats or the Tri-State Warriors, we will be there to cover it. Once again, for everything PDF Sports Network, pdfsportsnet.com, or on YouTube at youtube.com/@PDF Sportsnet. For our entire crew here at PDF, for Lewis, our engineer, for Pat, our cameraman, for Joe Foreman, I'm David Pizzuto, wishing you a very good evening. Thank you for tuning in once again to Tri-State Warriors Football and the Women's Football Alliance. And thank you once again from all of us at the PDF Sports Network. We'll see you next time.